real issue. I think the Cleveland Browns fans are used to, they're about the Browns. But when players come to the team, a lot of them come with their own fan bases, not just Shedeur. Also, like they talked about Johnny Manziel, et cetera. I mean, it's a common thing, right? And sometimes people want to say, with Shedeur, this off the field things, like, his persona, this, that, and the other. Okay, everything about Shedeur has been disproven. So my part that I added was basically what this podcast is about today. This is bigger than Shedeur. This is not just about Shedeur. This is about 17 to 32. So I was telling them about that. And I know they were quiet because they were probably like, oh, we were just thinking, this is about Coach Prime, or that people hate on the Sanders, and that, when Shedeur looks better than Dylan, they're going to go ahead and let Shedeur start, etc. I'm like, well, that might be true. That might be true, but they're intentionally working really hard to hold back Shedeur. And I said, it's not just because, they don't like Shedeur. I'm like, Coach Prime isn't in Cleveland. In fact, what's happening to Shedeur, the way Shedeur is being mishandled and disrespected and held back in Cleveland, no Coach Prime anywhere, shows and proves that what happened in the draft, mishandled, disrespect, intentionally held back, devalued. He's not good. We're just holding you back, pushing you down. Had nothing to do with Coach Prime. Coach Prime was a scapegoat. The CU program was collateral damage so they could drive home. We don't want to draft Shedeur because of his dad. We don't want to draft Shedeur because he's this, he's that, and the other. We don't want to draft Shedeur because he's entitled. That is the same verbiage that the owners used to take Shedeur off the board, which they should have never done. Shedeur is a 5th round pick because the owners took Shedeur off the board. They locked him out of the 1st round. When they took him off the board, that's when the free fall started. So they were saying that the Philadelphia Eagles was supposed to get Shedeur. So while they were talking, I was looking it up, and it speculated. And I said, how are they going to get Shedeur? Because I don't know how Barry got him. Shedeur wasn't on the board. I said, I believe the Philadelphia Eagles are interested in Shedeur. And they went on to talk about how the Eagles have a rich history with Black quarterbacks. In other words, they're not afraid of Black quarterbacks, or they're not biased against Black quarterbacks. I said facts, but Cleveland is. The Browns are. I said the Browns pre-draft with Shedeur extensively at number 2, got him for $4 million instead of 46, and they're not happy about it. Why weren't they happy about it? Because maybe they weren't going to draft him at all. Maybe they just pre-draft with him, and it was just part of the overall plot that started somewhere around Vegas that pigeonholed Charles Woodson to the Browns and pigeonholed Shedeur to the Browns. I told them when Shedeur became the number 1 pick overall, that's when the Browns had decided amongst themselves, the NFL, all the owners and everybody else that took part in this collusion, Shedeur gonna be the number 2 pick overall. But was he ever really gonna be the No, he wasn't. That would mean that the Cleveland Browns would have to change their culture when it comes to Black quarterbacks and become more like Philadelphia. Are they ready? Based on what I see, no. Tyler Huntley's over there. They're not talking about him. I got PFF scores to show that Shedeur is number 1, so we know he is who he is. They sent out pictures with Shedeur and Gabriel talking about Philly. I quit back and say, hey, what about Huntley? Is he playing? They're like, probably so, but they keep excluding him. This situation is complex and simple at the same time. The common denominator here is not Coach Prime. You don't see Coach Prime anywhere near Cleveland. I don't even think it was a coincidence. I think that was God. He's like, don't go there. I'm in the middle of something. Now you see he didn't go. And what do you see? You see Shedeur being mishandled, disrespected, and devalued in Cleveland, just like you did in the draft, which proves it wasn't about Coach Prime. The common denominator is not Coach Prime. The common denominator is collusion. I said in Spaces, the owner should have never taken Shedeur off the board, because that's why the whole situation is a mess. Now, somebody in Spaces said something that I actually thought made sense. The fact that you pre-draft with him extensively, Cleveland, you was pretending you was going to get him. We done took him off the board. Chatter that Philadelphia might be interested, but he ain't on the board. So they jump up and trade 2 picks in the same round to get somebody else to block Philly. I'm like, how they going to block Philly? He wasn't on the board. Philly could have got Shedeur in round 2, 3, 4, or 5. So I'm not 100% certain about that, but I do believe the sense of urgency came from somewhere. And I mentioned to them, the sense of urgency could have come from several places. Yes, it could have come from we don't want Philly to get him, but why wouldn't you want Philly to get him? Because it's obvious you didn't want to get him. It's obvious you was forced to get him. But it maybe had he gone to Philly because they have a rich history with black QBs, that's positive, they wasn't going to be willing to hold him back. They were going to make him QB2 behind Jalen Hurts. I'm like, well, why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? Because they wanted Mike Tomlin to draft Shedeur at number 21 and make him QB2 behind Aaron Rodgers. Mike Tomlin was like, that's futile. You know why? Because Shedeur is a franchise QB. That is obvious to everybody. And what is also obvious today is that Cleveland is deliberately holding back the franchise QB. Overnight last night, about 2:30 in the morning, I got a notification. I told y'all this was going to happen. Shedeur Sanders could make a meteoric rise and be the first pick overall. Now, I knew who had the first pick. I said, let me just Google it so I could see it with my own eyes. The Cleveland Browns. They are ready to run it back. The only black QB in the top 5 is about to make a meteoric rise to number 1 overall, which a lot of people would say, oh, that mean they not racist. And send him where? To Cleveland, where Shedeur is. So that means Shedeur not going to be there. That means that no matter how good he plays, they are going to deliberately hold him back. And I'm going to tell you something else. This game is pivotal. Whether Dylan ball out or not, if Shedeur ball out, and he balled out last week, and just Dylan have a good game, but Shedeur emerge as the NFL pro-ready QB, he better be careful because they're going to get desperate. If Shedeur magically gets hurt in this game or the next one, it's not a coincidence. If you can already have the media running around talking about Shedeur Sanders, who also is a black QB, the only one in the top 5, what did we just say? These other players coming out number 1, 2, and 3, they don't want to go to Cleveland. Just like Baker Mayfield didn't want to go there. They didn't want to go there either. And they look like Baker Mayfield. They don't look like Shedeur. But Shedeur Sanders does. So yeah, drafting Shedeur Sanders at number 1 overall for Cleveland does 2 things. We're not racist. And we're going to trash his career too. I told him, I said, this is about the majority of the starting quarterbacks not being black. That's why Shedeur, who was pigeonholed to 17 to Cleveland, and Milroe, who was also sabotaged at number 18, got replaced with 2 white quarterbacks, Jackson Dart and Tyler Shaw. Now, y'all see Tyler Shaw is backfiring. Y'all know Jackson Dart started off bad, and they propping him up, right? So let's talk about these PFF ratings, and we're going to talk about what we shared yesterday. What did I share yesterday that we laughed at because they had Jackson Dart in front of Shedeur and their verbiage and how they were basic when it came to Shedeur, Milroe, and Cam. And I said, that's crazy because these quarterbacks' performances lined up the way they were supposed to be drafted. It showed you who was the best. It showed you why they didn't talk about Milroe, because he was right behind Shedeur. So let's take a look at these PFF grades. So Shedeur by the numbers, that's what I call it. So a podcast that I follow that's specific to the Browns, I feel like they try to hold the Browns accountable. I think I've actually said to them once, you can't be scared. This is something you just got to do. You can't just talk about the good. You got to talk about the bad. And they were the ones that came out yesterday and said, we would like to see what it is Dylan can do. That's what you need to do. Put their feet to the fire, but that's also what's making them desperate. So we got to be careful that Shedeur doesn't magically get hurt like he magically got sacked on 4th and 1. And guess what? They brought up the play, and they're not the only ones. Another podcast said, I didn't like that 4th and 1 play. I didn't like it either. I've been talking about it. I have a still shot of it because you can see that number 74 blew his coverage. And then the other guy that was holding his man had to try to go help Shedeur. And it's one person trotting back. Go look at 8 minutes and 12 seconds because you can't share NFL highlights. 8 minutes and 12 seconds in the first quarter. I want you to look at that 4th and 1 play. Number 74, pay attention. That was no accident. They even talked about it in spaces without knowing that I said anything about it because they didn't know me at the moment. They associate me with Colorado. I didn't bother with the correction. Once I started talking, it told the story. So right here, by the numbers, 82.1, Shedeur Sanders, the best rookie QB. See, they don't like this. They don't like this because they don't want the questions. How the hell did Dart get in front of Shedeur? They don't like that. That's why yesterday, what I read to you, when it had Dart first and Shedeur second, that was an NFL publication. Not a third party. That was an NFL publication. The same NFL at the time on the NFL Network who did an aggressive hit job on Shedeur. I asked the question. I said, why would the NFL allow its media to trash one of its top draft prospects? Because at the time, I didn't know the NFL gave out Shedeur Sanders' phone number to 2 million people who did not need to know. But I know now. Just like I know the owners took him off the board. Just like I know the guy that made the call is supposedly the boyfriend of the GM's daughter for the New York Giants. How cozy. At the time, I didn't know they were all in on it. The NFL Network still trying to do a hit job on Shedeur with the guy, Monte, and people that tore him up to shreds, which he was crazy for sitting up there agreeing to do that. They have ripped him to shreds. Kevin Stefanski. They trying to put out stories that he worked diligently with Shedeur to develop Shedeur into the quarterback he is. Of course, that is being refuted intensely because they're like, oh, now you want to take credit. I'm like, they don't want to take credit. They got to take credit. Kevin Stefanski has publicly shown us he's not doing his job. See, a head coach's responsibility is to create a positive environment. He's created a toxic one. It is to develop players individually. How can you say you developing a player when he's the best and you keep holding him back? You're supposed to be nurturing your players, fostering a positive environment. You're supposed to be openly communicating. And part of that is the media. And he's not. He's talking in word riddles and word salads. Kevin Stefanski is not doing his job, which is why every day, twice a day, in case you missed it, fire Kevin Stefanski. When they put out the second depth chart, Kevin Stefanski should be fired immediately because it shows you no matter how good Shedeur is, he's going to hold him back, which means he's developing and nurturing Shedeur and his talents. Day before that, I said the Cleveland Browns were what? Need to be investigated for organizational malpractice. Kevin Stefanski needs to be fired, not just because he's not doing his job. He's neglecting one of his players. He's created a toxic environment for this player. He set this player up to fail with the 4th and 1 to be sacked with blown coverage. Something that happened to that player in college. How he know that? Because they clearly ain't watched no film because they don't know who Shedeur is. So by the numbers, Shedeur is the best QB. But we know one thing: Shedeur was playing against the ones. I don't know who the hell Jackson Dart was playing with or against because they ain't say. He could be playing with kindergarten for all we know. But that's the NFL that's intentionally manipulating the stories about who the best quarterback is. That came from the NFL itself. Just like the hit job Manatee was trying to do on Shedeur. That's the NFL network. Yeah, they might be owned by ESPN now, but they got the same culture they had when the NFL owned them. And that is exactly why they are owned by ESPN right now. Trying to get away. One of the things I said in Spaces is it's not about can Shedeur beat Dylan and then they're going to go ahead and just after all of this time of fighting it, we just going to give up. I'm like, well, if they give up that easy, if they give up that easy, then this was always the plan because they damn sure fighting it. They fighting it with everything they have, which is why Shedeur better be careful. If they set you up on 4th and 1 to get sacked, you might get set up to get hurt. Because that was definitely intentionally blown coverage. You can see it. People are talking about it. Of course, the broader media don't want to talk about it. But it starts here, and then it elevates there. Desperate people do desperate things. If they're already putting out the little stories that they try to put out about Arch Manning, Arch Manning like, hey, his family like, leave his name out your mouth. He going to be in school 2 years. Mind your business. Now, all of a sudden, the number 5 ranked QB is about to make a meteoric rise. The only black QB. See, they didn't want black QBs to be popular in the draft that just happened. They didn't want them to come out like they had been coming out the last 2 years. 3-3-3. They didn't want that. So now that they manipulated on the college side, just like they did Milroe at Alabama, putting Jackson Dart in front of him, Not talking about Milroe at all. And then he goes and balls out in the game. Willing to talk about Cam because he didn't do good, they say. You can't deny Shedeur. They do not want Dart to be in front. They do not want Dart behind Shedeur. Because then everything points back to, why the hell didn't you just draft Shedeur? There's at least 2 reasons I could think of. One of them was justified. Well, we waiting on Arch Manning. You could have said that. What's wrong with that? You want to wait for 2 years to get somebody else? Isn't that what the owner said? He want to be patient in Cleveland. Now they want to get somebody out this class talking about they getting Arch Manning. I'm like, no, the hell you not. Because I always felt like, in addition to the fact that they've never had a black starting quarterback in the New York Giants, I knew it had everything to do with that. I also am smart enough to know that Manning connection runs through the New York Giants. Why wouldn't they just wait for him? That's why they got Abdul Carter first. They could have did all of that. So the famous Shedeur was futile. It was ridiculous because you got your guy and he's still not the best. And now you on the hook for saying Russell Wilson is a starter. So now you got to start Russell Wilson. And when you say starter, he better be the starter for the season. Or we're going to be right back here having this conversation that you have a problem with black quarterbacks leading your team, which means you need to be forced to sell. And that goes for Haslam too. So it was good to be there. I couldn't be there long. I don't know what they thought of what I said because I ain't have time to hear what nobody said because I had to go. But the point is, this is not about Coach Prime. Because Coach Prime ain't been nowhere near Cleveland and Shedeur still being mishandled, still being devalued. Yeah, they got away with it in the draft, but they struggling like hell to get away with it in the season because all of the moving parts are starting to fall away. Tyler Shaw isn't working out. So now you got to go with the black guy on your roster. Jackson Dart didn't work out. Now you got to go with the black guy on your roster. The very thing you avoided, you ended up with anyway. And now, since Cleveland doesn't want to be called what, stories are being leaked that they're going to go get the number 5 pick. And he going to suddenly rise and go to Cleveland, pitting him against Shedeur. I don't give a damn because people want Shedeur the hell out of Cleveland anyway. I watched the Pac-Man Jones show. We probably going to react to it because there was a lot there, some very interesting things. And he said it. You know, he was asked, do you think Shedeur should ask for a trade? He was like, hell yeah, I think he should ask. And then came on the show, another co-host, was it a very popular agent, last name Schaefer. And they rattled off, you know, who he represented. And he big time. And he represented Pac-Man Jones, Jerome Bettis, a bunch of people they named. And he gave some solid insight. He said they're not trading Shedeur. He said, who the hell is trading a franchise QB that they got for $4 million? You see how it works? And I said to myself, so wait a minute. You know that Shedeur is not going to be traded away. Because Pac-Man said, I guess you just trade him away for a 3rd round pick. Or he said, they're not going to do that. He said, they would be crazy to do that. They're not going to trade him. He said, they're going to trade the Oregon kid a Pickett. He said, you know, you could maybe get a 3rd rounder for them. He was like, you really think they're going to trade Shedeur Sanders for a 3rd round pick? What did Andrew Berry say? We know Shedeur is going to outproduce his draft stock. You know what that means, right? They knew he was going to be better than Dylan. If Shedeur is the 4th string and Dylan's the 3rd string and I'm going to outproduce that, I'm not tying Dylan. I'm better than Dylan. And they knew that because they didn't pursue Dylan at the number 2 pick overall. They pursued Shedeur because they knew he could get the job done. And now they have him for $4 million, but they seem upset. And they don't want to trade him because he's too much of an asset. That's what Schaefer said. You don't trade assets. Shedeur is an asset to the Browns. So why are they still holding him back? That's the $1 million question. So you wanted him for 46. You got him for 4. But y'all still holding him back. Is this all an act? Because you're going to put him out there? You're going to put him out there. And you got to be careful. And you got to act mad. Because that meant you playing in Dylan face from the moment you drafted him. You was going to always get Shedeur late. Andrew Berry came on day 3, was asked by a reporter, what did you think when you came to work on day 3 and you noticed Shedeur was still on the board? Very casually, we just going to see how far he's going to go. Sound like an expectation because they knew he wasn't going to be on the board, which means how the hell was Philly going to draft him? They were interested. I know a lot of teams were interested. There are a lot of teams interested now. They can't get him, and they not trading him. And if you got people running around talking about you're going to get your franchise QB next year, it's going to be Arch Manning, it's going to be this person, it was going to be Cade Klubnik, don't none of them want to come to Cleveland. And they probably can get out of coming to Cleveland. But see, Shedeur can't get out of coming to Cleveland. He likes Cleveland. He said Cleveland is home for him. He don't want to go nowhere. I said, why should he? Because he better than everybody in front of him. Just be patient. They're going to drop like flies. I'm not the only person saying it. We seen it right before our eyes. So Schaefer was spot on. It was great insight. You don't trade assets. They see him as an asset. They always knew he was going to outproduce his current position. So maybe they just acted mad because they got their lightning in a bottle. Maybe the owner's okay with it because, hey, we get Shedeur for $4 million. Maybe he okay with that because Shedeur is devalued because he clearly didn't value him at the number 2 pick. But he act intentionally. He wasn't my pick. Like, I'm not happy he's here. They don't seem to be trying to capitalize off of his presence. Cleveland seems hell-bent on trying to humiliate and antagonize Shedeur, but the heat is on. So now you have the Cabins of the world going out and saying, no, he worked diligently with, he was right there behind Shedeur, trying to get Shedeur to understand the complex terminology. What football complex terminology is complex? What football terminology is complex? Please, somebody drop in the comments what football terminology is complex. Give me an example of complex football terminology. Kevin Stefanski was standing right behind Shedeur, trying to act like he was slow, trying to humiliate him. Cleveland is on the same time that the entire NFL draft was on, trying to humiliate him when they never had to draft him at all. But now they done got themselves in a situation they don't want to say out loud through the media. The owner shouldn't have never took Shedeur off the board because that's why the mess is like it is. And I give you one better. This goes back all the way to the Vegas Super Bowl when they pigeonholed Charles Woodson, then they pigeonholed Shedeur. He was going to always be humiliated. He was going to always be devalued. That was the plan. He was going to always end up playing for somebody with less money. It should be lightning in a bottle, but they don't seem to want that either. Cleveland seems to be prioritizing humiliating Shedeur, the continuation of the draft, part 2. Maybe this is day 4, day 5, day 6, because that's what it feels like. It's the same MO. He's not good. We don't want you. We don't value you. Then trade him, goddammit. They feel like we got you, so we get the right to abuse you. No, you don't. And that's why people are coming out. Because calls for Kevin Stefanski to be fired. Yeah, I might be one of them, but I'm not the only one. People were already questioning if he was a good coach. He has a losing record, 40-44. He pissed off that the quarterback that he tried to set up with being sacked, hoping it would shake his confidence, won the damn game. Shedeur better be careful. Because if he get hurt in this game, and it's due to blown coverage or some weird situation, just about as weird as the Baltimore Ravens ending against the Buffalo Bills, with people like, this ain't right. Just like people are saying that 4th and 1 play was to hurt Shedeur, he better be careful because there's a lot on the line right now. Not winning or losing. It's about him advancing beyond them trying to hold him back. You see, they took him off the board, which means they wanted to control where he went, when he went. They wanted to exact their humiliation. They wanted to be the ones to say, that's it. But they didn't get that. They got forced to draft him. They thought they were done with him. And they're treating him like, we don't want you. We don't value you. There's nothing you could do. We going to get you for somebody else. He's trade capital. What you going to trade him for? You going to trade into a team that's going to come beat you? There are teams that are interested in Shedeur. They can't get Shedeur because this is not about Shedeur. This is about Miro. This is about Cam. So, the Philly game is pivotal, people. It's pivotal. And right here, it just shows you that, no matter how good he is, they're going to hold him back. And people are saying, he could get out here and play preseason. He could win. It's not going to matter to them. Did he still get first team reps? And while it doesn't matter, he could outperform anybody. If no, then they're going to use that excuse to do what? Well, we didn't see him play with the first team, so he's not going to play in the regular season, which means they're going to try to bury him on the bench. They know they're going to have a fight on their hands. Do you see them retreating? No. It's crazy. Jerry Jones is supposedly excited that he got Joe Milton. Saying, pinch me, I'm surprised he on our team. No, you're not. You went and got him because he was behind Drake May for $4 million. So you got your lightning in a bottle. That's why he's so callous when it comes to Dak. I don't need you. I can win without you. Oh, look, I got this guy. Not a coincidence. Jerry Jones went and grabbed Joe Milton, knowing Shedeur was going to be in the draft because the owners took him off the board. All of them. Jerry Jones included. Shedeur was blocked in so many different ways. From going first round, from even being drafted, until a sense of urgency kicked in. I don't think it was Philadelphia. And now he's performing and people are pressuring them to put him in front where he belongs. They don't want to do that. So much so that they were cowardly when they dropped off this little depth chart right here. and ran out the door knowing they were going to be off today, knowing they were headed to Philly. They've shown you their hand. It would make sense that you did all of this so you could get him for cheap. Not that it's right, but it would make sense. It ain't even making sense that way. It's not. It's not even making sense that way. So people are saying, the game popcorn worthy. I totally agree. But I will send out a precaution. You were already set up on 4-1. It was meant to harm you in some way, shape, or form, whether it was mentally, whether it was physically, it was meant to harm you. This Philly game got a lot riding on it, not the win or the lose. Which quarterback comes out looking better? If you hurt, it ain't going to be you. If you win this game, no, they might get a little desperate. They're not willing to trade you. They're not willing to put you where you belong. They're willing to humiliate you, which means you got to be careful. I'm going to say it one more time. If Shedeur magically gets hurt in a way that got you scratching your head, and it got anything to do with blown coverage or something to do with a freak accident, it is not. This kid is durable. This kid is tough. And the way they think, they just going to think he got sacked a lot. So, it's nothing. No, it's going to be something. Because you can't put it past them. Look at how they're continuing to mishandle him. And it's not because they want Dylan. It's because of the decisions they made pre-draft, in the draft, and post-draft. It's to protect the truth. Let's leave Dylan right there, because if Shedeur get up there to QB1, we're going to have to answer some questions because we pre-draft with him extensively, and we went away from him and said he wasn't worth it at that price. So he can't be worth it at this price. It's a mess. The owners created this mess, taking Shedeur off the board. Everybody that colluded to block Shedeur from being the 17th black starting quarterback and Milroe from being the 18th black starting quarterback, knowing that first round QBs are inherent QB1, are all guilty. They are all guilty. The media is just really talking in circles because there's nothing else to say, because they don't want to say the owners should have never taken Shedeur off the board. The common denominator, who they said the problem was, Coach Prime? No, the common denominator is collusion in Cleveland and in the draft. Can't nobody else get him at all, which is why he ain't going nowhere. And Schaefer's right. They not trading him either because they know he's an asset. They just won't treat him like he's an asset. Make that make sense. Schaefer went on to say he should have had an agent. This is where I respectfully disagree, because the man knows what he's talking about, but not in this case. That's if the draft was on the up and up. He said Shedeur should have had an agent to maybe sidestep the landmines. Why were there landmines in the first place? See, that's the problem. People accepting too much. Why are there landmines in the first place? There should be no landmines. The draft is supposed to be celebratory. That meant you went through the process. You did what you needed to do. Nobody should be out here lying on you and defaming you, talking about you slow, can't get the playbook, something about your daddy, this, that, and the other, be legendary. None of that even mattered. You think an agent was going to stop them from talking about him? What they needed, one of their good buddies to say, don't do him like that? No, he needed a damn lawyer, and does now, to start sending out some cease and desist letters to the media, because that's who did the hit job. And the NFL Network was aggressive with it. And when you realize that the NFL Network was allowed to tear down a top NFL draft prospect, and then when you realize the NFL is the one that gave out Shedeur Sanders' phone number to 2,000 people, and you realize the owners are incestuously close and they do everything together, and the owners took him off the board using the language from the New York Giants, the only team to defame Shedeur, they're all in on it. So asking for a trade ain't gonna help. It's better to stay where he is and keep balling out because the rest of them gonna drop like flies. They are already dropping. And then what the hell Cleveland gonna do? Cleveland gonna be like the New York Giants. You tried to avoid a black starting quarterback. You pushed Russell Wilson out of Pittsburgh because you didn't want him to be a black starting quarterback in Pittsburgh. And now he in New York. You think they will be grateful to have somebody that just took the team to the playoffs? No, it's because he's black. And Russell is not a rookie. He said it. They can't break me because he know they tried. They ain't quit yet. I told y'all they was going to play in his face. But their little plan is backfiring. So they trying to prop up Dart so they can justify it. They want their fans to start calling for Dart. So this organization could say, well, we got to appease to the fans. But then in Cleveland, the fans are saying start Shedeur, get Shedeur out there behind Flacco QB2. They don't hear nothing. Different strokes for different folks. Having an agent was not going to help Shedeur. You saw the Super Bowl footage that weekend. You saw Shedeur talking to the commissioner, who's what? Grandson, godson, grandson was on Coach Prime's roster at Jackson State. These people know each other. You need an agent if you got to convince a person that you're good and why they should take you. You don't need an agent when they all collude against you. It ain't going to help you. Hell, I didn't think Milroe needed an agent. And clearly he didn't because it didn't work. And do you know who his agent is? His agent is Jalen Hurts' agent, which meant he should have went to the Saints like I predicted because the Saints OC is now the head coach from Philly to New Orleans. The head coach in New Orleans is the OC from Philly. The same person that worked with Jalen Hurts' agent to help make sure his contract was what it was supposed to be. They're not afraid of black quarterbacks in Philly. We talked about that. It was a lock. The same agent that worked with Jalen Hurts, the same agent that worked with Kellen Moore that has a relationship, obviously, or rapport because that's the head coach, now representing Jalen Milroe, and it does nothing for him. Shedeur didn't need an agent. He needed a lawyer. If the owners decide they want to take you off the board and use the language of the New York Giants, that's what they decided to do. They should have never done it. They don't want to admit it, but that's what they did. They created this mess. And now the Cleveland Browns are doing the bidding, continuing on from the draft. The owner, who's incestuously close with the other 31, told you he wasn't my pick. He was right because he wasn't on the board. They took him off. Those owners took him off. And that's why Stefanski can be allowed to neglect his job duties and focus on mishandling Shedeur. Because the owners took him off the board and he still got drafted. So where you think that call came from? Higher than the owners. And who is that? And I ain't talking about Roger Goodell. You got it. They don't want to admit that. They don't want to admit that. They don't want to admit that at all. They went and grabbed Huntley. The others seem to be out there working out. What the hell they even go get him for? They don't talk about him. They don't put him on the depth on the QB competition. Why not? He out there. You went and got him for what? Are you paying the man? Or is it that it's the offseason, nobody gets paid? We talked about Luke Floria getting hurt and getting waived. And people were like, man, you couldn't just rehab him for 3 weeks? You said it wasn't. I said, wait a minute. There's an upside here. Luke Floria gets waived. He's going to clear waivers. Guess what he gets? A new contract. Because waiving him didn't make sense. Somebody else could get him. But to get him a new contract, that's the process. That's how he gets a new process. I told y'all they were trying to put him in front of Deontay Johnson. So they knew he had a minor injury. They talking about he'll come back and be on the practice squad. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up with a better contract than some other people. Because when they like you, that's what they do. But you better be careful because when they done with you, they're going to trash you. But different folk, what they say, different strokes for different folks. So, the game is, I think, going to be fun to watch. Um, like we said, Shedeur's escapability, he probably gonna need it. People getting desperate. Stefanski, people standing on his head. That means they out here putting out stories that he a good coach. Yeah, okay. I don't see it. He a losing coach. In my opinion, Stefanski is the one holding the Cleveland Browns back. You want to cut for somebody else, you want to do somebody else bidding, you're going to take the heat. You're going to take the heat. So everybody's excited about the game. I think all three of them will play. I think, they're going to somehow get Huntley in there because, again, why did I go get him? So he could play, 5-10 snaps in a game? Shedeur could have played the whole game. Tell me I'm wrong. People said when he left the game, people stopped watching. There are memes about that. It's true. This game is going to be exciting because it's Philadelphia and it's a tougher opponent. We get to see Shedeur again because that's what matters, right? We get to see Shedeur again. People think Dylan will start the game. Shedeur will close it out. I have no problem with that. As long as Shedeur don't get magically hurt. That's all I can say. That's it. And you can't ignore it. If you paid attention to the last game, before the game started, I shared that Asante Samuel said, Shedeur's fight is not going to be on the field. It's going to be against Kevin Stefanski's play calling. He turned out to be right because that 4th and 1 play was supposed to shake Shedeur up. Maybe the next suspect play from Stefanski is supposed to make Shedeur hurt. So this competition, he don't make it forward. If you're willing to set him up to get sacked, you have no problem setting him up to get hurt. Quarterbacks get hurt all the time when they get sacked, especially against the ones, because that's who they was playing against, right? You couldn't put your ones out there to protect him? No, because 74 didn't do his job. And it's easy to say, oh, he a 4th stringer. Oh, he a 3rd stringer. Oh, he not one of our best. Don't sleep on it, people. Don't put it past them. You heard too many people say, how can you trust this organization? You can't. They won't trade him. They see him as an asset. They won't elevate him to where he belongs. So what am I doing? Trying to humiliate him. If I was going to allow you to be sacked, I will allow you to be hurt. Prove me wrong. So let me see what y'all are saying. Hey, Cynthia Miller, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Hey, Miss Pamela, how you doing? Said Jerry Jones is coming for Shedeur. Talking a trade for Michael Parsons. Where Michael Parsons is going to go, though? Is it going to be a 3-way trade? Does Michael Parsons, what position does he play? The same one as Myles Garrett? I don't think they're going to do that. Matter of fact, that came up on the Pac-Man Jones show. He said that's dead. I think it was a possibility. But I think now that they're celebrating Milton. Now, I see this 2 ways. I see it 2 ways. I told somebody this the other day. I said, I see Shedeur going to Dallas, right? Why? Y'all know why. Money. Cleveland might not want it because they got their own agenda. Dallas has had a black quarterback, Dak, right? Shedeur's contract and Joe Milton's contract are what and what. I checked Joe Milton's contract. I already knew Joe Milton had been put behind Drake May and he wasn't making that much money. I felt like, in my honest opinion, when Jerry made the play for Joe Milton, it wasn't just because he was $4 million. It's because if I don't have a quarterback over here, I'm going to have to probably get Shedeur. So he blocked Shedeur. But things are different. See, things are changing. See, things are not going as planned. They didn't foresee Shedeur would sell $250 million jerseys. I'm pretty sure they were smart enough to know he was going to sell some jerseys. But they positioned Travis to be the biggest draw. Shedeur is still the biggest draw. They wanted it to be Travis. It's not working out the way they planned. Travis is popular, yes. But Shedeur is, otherworldly in terms I think people call it aura, right? But in terms of his popularity and the way he's been mishandled, disrespected, discriminated against, mistreated, he got more and more people gravitating towards him, right? I saw a press conference with Gage, and I like what Gage said, because I said today when they put Gage out there and did the press conference, they was asking him about Shedeur, asking everybody about Shedeur. He said, he's a great guy. Everybody naturally gravitates towards him, and I remember him saying something about, yeah, we know in the back of our minds we might not be here. I'm so glad he said that. I'm so glad he said that, not just for his own awareness, but it takes the sting out of what they're trying to do. You know what I said when I saw Gage and I loved his interview? I said, now let's see if the Browns cut Gage to spite Shedeur. Pay attention. I always said, pay attention to who gets cut. His little friend that he had, when they do the little 1-2, the little other HBCU person, somebody was celebrating him in the HBCU world yesterday. People are starting to realize, right, who's on the team. Gage gets the interview today. Luke is out. Let's see what happens. I'm so glad he said that. Shedeur said the same thing. You could be here today and gone tomorrow. In other words, I'm not attached. So you can't threaten me with I'ma cut you if I'm cool with it. If I expect that I'm probably not going to be here. If I look at this as an opportunity, something I got an experience to do, and not I'm going to die if I don't get it, then you can't hurt me. I'm so glad he said that. Because they so spiteful, they would actually cut him because everybody's talking about how much of a connection those two have made. Luke out the way, he was like the top wide receiver. People even question, is he really hurt? Because you know how y'all be doing. Moving people, that's Shedeur, moving people out the way. So let's see. I'm just glad he said it because Shedeur feels the same way. I told y'all, if they trade Shedeur, it's going to be something they will force to do. And all this heat that Stefanski is getting, how he's neglecting one of his players, creating a toxic environment, the whole organizational malpractice on top of the owner coming out and admitting he's not my pick, and look at how he's being mishandled and mistreated. The culture comes from the top. That heat going to turn up. It's going to go slow, but it's turning up, and they already feeling it, which is why they're trying to make you think Stefanski built Shedeur. Stefanski has never developed seemingly any damn quarterback there. He ain't even developing Dylan. He did more harm to Dylan than he did good, having him out there constantly throwing, and he getting worse and worse and worse. So the whole Dallas thing, I still could see it because I don't care what nobody say. I know Jerry Jones didn't draft Shedeur in 5 rounds. That's how you know he couldn't. Because if you think Jerry Jones didn't want to get Shedeur for $4 million, but he excited about Joe Milton for $4 million, think again. I said it. He could sign Michael Parsons and have Shedeur. I was right because he over there with Joe Milton. And I told somebody, they said, Jerry Jones not going to get Shedeur. He not going to trade for Shedeur because he have Joe Milton. I said, let me see Joe Milton sell $250 million and win. Because that's the other hiccup. That's the other factor. It's like, yeah, I got Joe Milton and we can win. And he might be thinking, you know what? We can make our money ourselves because he can't do it. They've made gentleman agreements to ban black players from the NFL when white people didn't have jobs. Collusion is just a gentleman's agreement. It just might be some women involved this time. There's definitely one on the table. When it's not, you will know. The NFL is fighting the majority of the starting quarterbacks being black, and Cleveland is in on it, and they fighting Shedeur to keep him from the top, and not just because he's a black quarterback, because 17 and 18, in my opinion, is already happening with Russell Wilson and the Spencer Rattler. So why am I holding Shedeur back? Because of what we did in the draft, because of what we said about him in the draft, because the owners took him off the board. They need to bury him. They think people going to stop talking about him. The more he's buried, the more they continue to do things like they do with the depth chart and keep him at the bottom, the louder people going to talk. And there's not going to be any type of story that they can throw out there to make people think that Kevin Stefanski is a good dude. They're standing in their own way, trying to hold Shedeur back. They're going to be just like the New York Giants. You're going to have to take a black quarterback now so you don't appear racist. Don't forget, there is a $100 million lawsuit out there alleging such. Maybe that's why Lenore Sellers going to make a meteoric rise to number one, and it just so happened to be the Cleveland Browns. There are no coincidences here, people. Only people putting their eggs in a row, getting their ducks in a basket, trying to get it together so that I don't appear what? So Dallas could happen. They got the same contract. That means that Joe Milton goes to Cleveland, and then they could keep Joe Milton probably behind Dylan, because that's what they want. That's what they want. He makes the same amount of money as Shedeur, I think. Somewhere close to it. That's a swap. That's a swap. It gets the heat off of Cleveland because they get Milton. Shedeur goes to Dallas with a New Jersey. They crank out some more money. He probably going to get the 2. It's a swap. I wouldn't put it past them. Because, I mean, honestly, the conversations they probably having are, look, 17 and 18 has already happened. You know, maybe we could fight it in the draft. Maybe we could reverse it with some of the other players. But it's no point in continuing to make things worse by trying to hold one person back when everybody watching one person. Don't think those conversations aren't happening. And when that happens, that's what they're going to do. It's going to be Anthony Richardson. It's going to be Joe Milton. And I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that at all, but you ain't going to see it. You ain't going to know about it because we don't pay attention to them. We don't pay attention to them. But it's foolish to do it to somebody that everybody's paying attention to. You had him in the draft because you knew we was paying attention and you thought you was going to get away with humiliating. Now you got this lawsuit over your hand, over you. And now in Cleveland, the same thing is happening. And it's just proven that Coach Prime had nothing to do with it. So that means they colluding over there and they colluded over here. So y'all just colluding. I don't know what else going to come out before they realize, wait, let's just switch it up. Because they're not going to give it up. They're not going to give up. They just going to move on to somebody else. I already said that. And when that's the case, then they're going to be fighting against Shedeur. And the reason they're going to do it is so they don't appear what? The very thing you don't want to do, you're going to end up doing. It has already happened. The Giants didn't want a black starting quarterback. They got Russell Wilson. The Saints didn't either. Block Shedeur. They got Spencer Rattler. Neither one of them are rookies. It's happening anyway. So it's futile to continue with this foolishness because now people getting on Kevin Stefanski. Now people getting on the organization. Hell, Haslam should be forced to sell because the culture is never going to be different with him as the owner. So if you want that spotlight to keep shining on you, then keep playing. And if he get hurt, whoo. Just like people upset about the 4th and 1 and can see straight through it. It was intended to harm him. Things just going to keep getting worse until they begging for mercy. And that's exactly what's going to force them to do right by Shedeur. They are intentionally holding him back and they don't care what nobody think because they ain't feeling the heat yet. Jerry been knowing Shedeur since he was a little boy. He wants to bring him back home to Dallas. Yeah, okay. He could have did that in the draft for $4 million. He intentionally blocked that spot with Joe Milton. And I don't put it past him to sing Joe Milton praises and go 3 games and, we need to trade. I don't put it past him. People are talking about why aren't they trading Shedeur? People are talking about why they hold this Shedeur back. It's just the voice is going to get louder. And they're not going to do the right thing. He could be trying to slap Dak in the face at the same time with Joe Milton, knowing all the well, shit, if I'm paying Joe Milton the same money, I'm paying Shedeur. I'm going to go get Shedeur. I can see it. As soon as they decide to stop playing around, whether they forced into it or they tired, they're going to be begging for mercy. It said, now Jerry knows he can play in the NFL. Yep. Jerry knows who Shedeur is. He was going to draft him. It says Shedeur is a first-round pick colluded against and forced to be chosen in the 5th round. Right. The owners took him off the board. That's why Shedeur is a 5th-round pick. Let me hear the broader media say it. I mean, if he was on the board, maybe he wouldn't have went down so low. But that's why you took him off the board, so nobody could get him. They know what they was doing. They devalued him. And they want to make it an uphill battle for him to get his money back. They keep playing with Shedeur. He going to have equity in one of these teams from damages. That's what's going to happen. He going to be a minority owner and a player at the same time. That's what's going to happen. Because that's what lawyers ask. What do you want? What do you want? When damages got, what do you want? You know what? I tell you what. I want my contract. I want my jersey sales at 10%. And guess what else I want? I want minority ownership for my dad. I would get it. They ain't gonna be able to say no. Because when a lawyer asks you what you want, they know you're gonna win. From a historical perspective, the QB position is coveted and elite and reserved for white. Yep. It said, I've heard Howie Roseman, Philadelphia GM, was tight with Coach Prime. Okay, well, that's good info. I do believe they were interested. But he wasn't on the board. You can't draft somebody that's not on the board. Jerry Jones is the most powerful owner in the NFL. He wants Shedeur, and he is going to get him Dallas. I agree. I keep telling people that's what they don't understand. Like the person that told me, well, we just got Joe Milton. I'm like, if Jerry Jones thought he could have got Shedeur, he would have traded Dak. It wasn't a coincidence that contract didn't get signed until a day after the Nebraska game. The people in college football, we knew what was going on. He didn't get him because they can't. Something is at stake for them. 17-32 matters to them. And when that fight is lost and they tired of fighting it, they just gonna move on to somebody else. Moving Lenore Sellers up from 5 to 1 when Shedeur can't even move from 5 to 4 on the depth chart. Just so he could go to Cleveland? Oh, you don't see the play? That's how Cleveland get a new stadium. Doing favors. Draft and hold, draft and destroy. The Raiders moved up. The Raiders got what? Cam Miller. I think he did pretty good. Jerry Jones said he would have to do a lot of trading. Yep, he did. But he got Joe Milton ahead of the draft. All the moves made ahead of the draft. Pay attention. Block Shedeur. They moved 2 quarterbacks out of Minnesota from behind J.J. McCarthy. Is J.J. McCarthy on this list? Or is it because he's not a rookie? I think it's because he's not a rookie. I don't know how he did. But they moved 2 quarterbacks from behind him. Forced Geno Smith out of Seattle to Vegas. So no point in getting Shedeur, right? Derek Carr in New Orleans. Jackson Dart in New York. Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. Common denominator is collusion, predicated upon racism for profiteering and premeditated agenda to blackball African-American QBs, right? To devalue every last one of them. That's what this is about. People don't want to, I think because, again, I look at this with a magnifying glass. A lot of people don't. So they just see Coach Prime. You don't see Coach Prime in Cleveland. This has nothing to do with Coach Prime. I don't think it's a coincidence that he ended up not going there, whether it was Boo Carter or not. Regardless, the point is, Shedeur said don't come, so he didn't come. Sellers to Cleveland, right. Lenore Sellers could make a meteoric rise. His daddy should have took the money. Lenore Sellers should have stayed at school for 2 years. Maybe this will be worked out by then. The Raiders are laughing stock like the New York, Pittsburgh, and New Orleans. What's going on with the Raiders? The racist perspective of blacks being cerebrally inferior and capable of QB skill level is being debunked by the multitude of exceptional black QBs. And yet, you're facts, but they keep trying. They were cool with it when it was just a few. But when that trend between 2020 and 2025, because it actually happened in 2025, they stopped it in the draft. The 4 quarterbacks we talked about yesterday at the top that the NFL put out. having a rookie, their little rookie debut. Shedeur, Milroe, and Cam, that was a draft. They stopped it in the draft. And just like in that article, they just put Jackson Dart out there. Same thing. We know Shedeur was playing against the ones. His road was made harder intentionally. Do I think Kevin Stefanski has a personal grudge against Shedeur? Honestly, no. I think Kevin Stefanski is doing his boss's bidding. I think his boss is colluding with the rest of the owners. Still, they started it. They got to keep going. You know how it is. You tell one lie, you got to tell another. That's exactly what it is. Or any CU QBs eligible for the draft. Yep, Caden Salter. They have him at number 15. I can see your comment, Salafi. They are throwing Dylan Gabriel to the wolves. Right. And we talked about that. I said, okay, let's just say this is a plot just to devalue Shedeur, get it for cheap and get him to go out there. I'm like, think about what Kevin Stefanski said in the post-draft press conference. We know Shedeur is going to outperform his draft stock. Oh, you did? So why did you get Dylan? To block Shedeur. So you know he's an asset. You know he's going to be better than when you have him. You know he is better than the person in front of him. Why you keep blocking him? Why was his phone number given out to 2,000 people who did not need to know, ended up in the hands of the supposed boyfriend? That can be easily verified, but nobody's talking about it. Of the daughter of the New York Giants, where Jackson Dart ended up the only team to defame Shedeur, who quietly backed away from their statements about him that the owners used to take Shedeur off the board. You can't even say it was a miscommunication. They want to say he was misevaluated. Nope. He was a first round projected draft pick by the NFL and Cleveland. So why they doing all this? Why would I want to humiliate Shedeur? Because I said he was this. I said he was that. I'm in trouble. I got to keep the lie going. I said he was a 5th round pick because he wasn't good. Nobody had a first round grade on him. We locked him out of the first round. Oops. Turns out he really is good. We took him off the board. They said, the owners took him off the board. That's why he fell so low. But he's going to outproduce his draft stock. So why did you get Dylan? I said it in Spaces. Dylan got him a case. If nobody wants to make a trade for him because of all of that work that he did that made him look bad, that's on Stefanski. That's on Stefanski. The owner ain't going to fire himself. It's on Stefanski. So if I know Shedeur is going to do better than his draft stock, and I trade Dylan, and Shedeur comes out in week 1 and does better than his draft stock, and I still hold him back, what the hell is the goal? I don't want to trade him. I know he an asset. Yes, you can elevate, but I don't want you to. Why? Why? Answer it. Why, if all of that is the case, why? Why would I continue to hold you back when I know you can do better? Is it because Dylan went number 3? Nah, I could just trade Dylan. I mean, what kind of allegiance do I have to Dylan? Is he my nephew? And my sister going to be mad with me because I told her I'm going to draft her kid, pay him all this money? Somebody still got to pay him his money. You ain't going to put him on waivers. You just going to find another team for him to go to. But you won't do that either. Hell, you can get rid of Pickett, but you don't want to do that either. because Shedeur going to get one step closer. He going to go from QB4 to QB3. And Dylan going to go to QB2, and Shedeur going to beat him and beat QB2. And when Flacco exhausts himself after about 6, 7, 8 games, Shedeur going to run with the rest of the season. That's why Dylan can't be traded. That's why Shedeur not going nowhere. And that's why Pickett is not going nowhere. And that's why Deshaun Watson is out there trying to get it together, because just in case something happened to somebody, I might need you. That's why Huntley's there, and they ain't got no use for him because everybody that was injured suddenly miraculously recovered after the game. Pickett's still out there taking reps. Dylan been out there still taking reps. He playing in this game. He has to play in this game. They have no choice. He might not be ready. They hope and pray he's ready. They probably over there talking to Philadelphia, asking them, hey, can you just back down to your 2s, your 3s, and your 4s for me? The only reason why they are doing all of this to Shedeur is to make sure he does not get to QB1. Because how in the hell can I pre-draft for you for $46 million, draft you when you're not available for 4, then I'm going to draft this dude right here, and I know you're going to beat him, and I can't admit to the fact that I got him to block you, and you still made it to the front, God damn it. So I done basically played in his face and devalue you and messed up his draft stock. That is unethical. It is also collusion, which is illegal. So you're not admitted to collusion against Shedeur. Hell, you was playing in Dylan's face from day one. They have a vested interest in keeping Dylan in front of Shedeur to make sure he don't get the QB1. This is going to be fun to watch, but Shedeur better not get hurt. Because desperate people do desperate things. And I'm not forecasting. I'm not predicting. I'm telling you, there's too many conversations about how unstable and untrustworthy this organization is. That you can't trust this organization. So if you can't trust it, then don't sit up there and wince when I say, if he get hurt, it's not a coincidence. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's something you need to look for. Because if they think they could get away with it, they gonna do it. Because you saw what they did to him in the draft. They didn't give a damn about his well-being. Kevin Stefanski didn't give a damn about his well-being since he's been on the ground. And as a coach, you are supposed to focus and make sure that the well-being of your players is intact. Kevin Stefanski is neglecting his own damn job just to hold back Shedeur, which is making the situation worse. And if he get hurt, it's going to go crazy. Because that 4th and 1 that Kevin Stefanski pulled last week, that people agree was some BS, it was intended to harm Shedeur, that means people could see it coming. Heads up. So while the game going to be fun to watch, we're going to see what Kevin Stefanski going to pull this week. There are people that's watching the game for the game, but they also watching Kevin Stefanski to see if he's still on that type of time. I mean, if Shedeur is still 4th-string and this Dylan first time playing, I mean, maybe just don't play Shedeur. But if it's important that Shedeur get out there all of a sudden when you didn't even want him to play last week, then we need to keep our eye out for why. We need to keep our eye out for why. You can't put nothing past these people, including cutting Gage. Hell, they might have moved Luke out the damn way just so Shedeur don't have a damn target so they could put somebody else in there that suddenly can't hold a goddamn ball. You can't put it past them. They have shown you who they are. Believe it. The guy on 92.3, The Fan in Cleveland, his name is Ken. He said it best. Check him out. I think I watched it today. He is all in on Shedeur after the Carolina game. He went in on an organization about Dylan Gabriel. I watched it earlier today. Yeah, no, they were good. They were good. They had a few callers call it in. I like what the callers had to say. Saying that, Shedeur looks good, but they still think Flacco should start. And I don't think anybody argues that point. I don't think this is about Shedeur needs to be the starter. No, I think everybody is fine with Flacco at the 1 and Shedeur at the 2. And if anybody knows, Flacco ain't played a full season, so that's just fine. And it also gives you an opportunity to see what the O-line looks like. Because if Kevin Stefanski is calling out 4-and-1 plays to get 4th-and-1 plays and having Shedeur sack and a guy blow coverage, you can't put nothing past him. So you need to see what the O-line going to do through the first 7 games. That way they have a pattern established. That way, if when Shedeur get in there, then something starts to happen, you have evidence that is manufactured. You got to allow the pattern to play out. That's exactly what happened with Coach Prime not coming to Cleveland. The pattern of collusion played out in Cleveland despite Coach Prime's absence, which verified it had nothing to do with Coach Prime in the draft because he's being mishandled in Cleveland and he was mishandled in the draft. It's the same thing. And the owner basically confirmed it. If you would have told me he was getting drafted on Friday night, I would have been like, no. Yeah, because, you locked him out of the first round and you knew he wasn't on the board. They don't want people asking the questions that we've already discussed. So how the hell did y'all draft him if he wasn't available? Because he wasn't drafted, technically. That was just the public process. You can't draft somebody that's unavailable. If Philadelphia was going to get him, then somebody else was going to get him. Believe that. Here's how it'll play out. 12 remains in the driver's seat. This will not be his franchise. It will be the next team he'll sign with. In my opinion, just fine-tuning NFL skills in the first year. If you believe that, then you believe they're going to stop colluding. And they might. But I ain't seen no evidence of it yet. If he don't go to Dallas, I don't know. Stefanski has the pillow over the head, simultaneously pitching the nostrils shut, causing suffocation. You smell what I'm stepping in. Yup. What happened to Klubnik Nussmeister? Hell, you know what happened to him. You know what happened to him. We talked about that the other day. They ain't going out. Cleveland is a circus. They like, They know Baker Mayfield didn't want to go there. They crazy if they thought Arch Manning was going there. I don't even know how you thought that. That means you don't pay attention to the football world and who's who. It said in an era of the 1950s, all athletes white, gradually more black athletes were in sports. Right. But in the NFL, when black people joined the NFL, they were looked at as the bodies. All they wanted was their athleticism. Right. Why did it take them so long to want athleticism at the QB position? Because they said the athleticism is what they want because the players, although athletic, are not cognitively superior enough to be a quarterback. That was a different designation. That's why Warren Moon went to Canada. What happened to Shedeur happened to other players well before Shedeur for the same exact reason. They look at quarterbacks as the kings. They don't look at their black players at that level of kings. You just a body. You're not a mind. You're not supposed to be a thinker. I think they called the quarterback a thinking man's position, talking about white players. So Jerry actually is the only one we said that actually has the power as the richest sports franchise owner in the world, not just the NFL, the world. He's the one that actually can just wake up and send a text. I'm going to get Shedeur. I think that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to send the jet. I'm going to get him. Yeah, he can do it. You see, the commissioner don't have no power over these owners. None. None. They run their own franchises. They the ones telling other owners what to do. Go look at the 61-page collusion document. It's documented. They stopped another owner from paying Russell Wilson the way he wanted to pay Russell Wilson. He had to get in line with what they do. They don't compete, they collude. And they standing 10 toes down because of what's at stake. The last few teams that have not had a black starting quarterback that's fighting it don't want one. But they will get a black GM. So I can hide behind my black GM. But they don't have no black head coaches and black offensive coordinators. It said they are still punishing him. They are trying to humble him. No, they're not. They're not trying to humble Shedeur. They're trying to keep Shedeur at that top spot because they said he wasn't good. They said he wasn't good. I told you when you work for a corporation and something happens and you go to HR, they're going to get rid of you. In about 6 months, You magically gonna be out of a job because they probably gonna get rid of the person that was a problem, and you might last a little while, but they gonna eventually kind of get rid of you, because you could be seen as a liability. Remember, there's a whole lawsuit out there. He didn't file it. He over here doing his job, but they have a vested interest in making sure he not the number one person. Because why? How did I justify taking Jackson Dart at number 2 if he's trash and Shedeur is good? Then I would appear what? They have a vested interest in making sure he fails. That's why you better watch yourself. When everything else don't work, injuries do. And look at how injured Cleveland players are. It's insane. Even Gage is injured. I'm like, wait a minute. All of these injuries, and they all hamstrings. Do y'all not like have any kind of strength and conditioning over there? Mata has a 55-yard range at Colorado. He said, honestly, it's Coach Swayze. Coach Swayze helped him increase his range in kicking the ball. But in Cleveland, they players dropping like flies. People question, is Luke really hurt? But I think people say they could see it. You could see something happen with him. He'll be back. He can clear waivers and get a new contract. They like him. He'll be fine. We just wish him well. QB in American football is often referred to as the field general and the signal caller due to the quarterback's crucial role in directing the offense and making strategic decisions, right? Once they find somebody else to harp on, then they'll move away from Shedeur. Think about it. For years, they was on Russell Wilson. Now they on Shedeur. Maybe next year is Lenore Sellers, which is why he making it to the number 1 spot, and all the other guys that were at the 1 through 4 suddenly ain't going there because he ain't gonna have a choice. Based on the signing a contract, how long is he obligated to be there? Rookie contracts are 4 years. Basically, Shedeur is paying for that damn stadium. They using that young man. They already got their money for the stadium, and it wasn't all theirs. They bought the land. The money came from somewhere. Hey, happy Tuesday. They don't even want to make money with Shedeur. They just want to stuff him at the end. They want him to be like Huntley. They want him to be like Huntley. They do. They want him to be like Huntley. We don't talk about you. You irrelevant. What they did to Huntley is what they want to do to Shedeur. I said that when Huntley first got there. I say it's crazy how they building Huntley up. How they talking about, oh, he Pro Bowl. What is it? The Pro Bowl, the thing in Hawaii or whatever. He was a Pro Bowl player. He was an alternate for Josh Allen as QB. And that didn't matter because they cut him. They knew that before he got there in March of last year. And they still cut him around August the 29th, which was before the first game check. They probably going to do it again. They do what they get away with, what they can get away with, because of if you don't have nobody to stand up for you, because the NFL Players Association is not it, then who gonna check them? Shedeur's situation is different. They chose somebody that they wanted to treat like Huntley, who they felt like was famous, but they didn't want to see it. Now they feeling it. They want to act like Shedeur was irrelevant in their eyes. They paying for it right now. So I said the other day, I just don't see these people being any different because of what they really trying to do. I told one lie, I got to tell another one. I said he wasn't good. How am I going to let him get out here and be QB1? It's going to look like I devalued him. And it is. And it's going to make people ask questions. With the media all saying the same thing, you have to wonder what the real deal is, right? To me, Cleveland's best bet is to trade Dillon. And just people will stop talking about the competition. And then just let Shedeur play and beat out Pickett. Or trade, he can trade Pickett too, because you still got Deshaun. You don't even need Pickett or Gabriel. Deshaun is out there running. He actually said he could play. But you could use Deshaun to block Shedeur too. It's complicated and it's simple at the same time. It's simple because it's racism. It's complicated because it started out with racism and it's turned it into something else because I told one lie while I was trying to be racist. Now I got to tell another one. And then I done ensnared Dillon in it and I done messed up his draft stock. But I can't trade him because now he looked bad. So he got to stay here. But then I'm messing over him too, and people see it. He sees it. He might have something to say about it. So while you were trying to hurt Shedeur, you actually end up hurting Dylan. You said you liked him. Cleveland is using 12. They blocking Shedeur. They ain't even using him for nothing. They are blocking Shedeur. They are trying to bury him on the depth chart. They actually said after Milrose's game, they thought he wasn't going to see the field for 2 years, but he balled out. They were like, well, he likely going to be playing in some offensive packages. Interesting. You don't need an agent unless your agent is a lawyer and can be like, look, guys, let's just go on and get this guy paid. We don't want this to turn into an ugly mess. But these are not the kind of people that I would think that would take too lightly to a statement like that because they feel like they can control the world. It was nice to see Gage and Jerry Jeudy have a lot of positive things to say about Shedeur. Gage told the reporters, that's my dog, and said you need someone to throw the ball to as well as to catch. Right. And I don't know why they keep asking everybody about Shedeur. That's crazy to me. Watch them let Dylan play with the ones. They better, because they made Shedeur play with the ones. They got to keep it a buck now. You got to keep it even. What you do for Dylan, you got to do for Shedeur. That's why they both were with the 2s and the 3s this week. Shedeur actually ended up with more reps. Why? Because he was a better looking QB. They're asking, does this mean he's going to elevate on the depth chart? They got too many QBs. Somebody got to go. Hell, 2 somebody's got to go. With Deshaun Watson running around, 2 people could go. Hell, maybe 3. How many quarterbacks they have? 7? Or is it 6? With Deshaun. I don't even know. It's so many. And now they're not even talking about Huntley. I had to ask, is he going to play in the game? Or are they just going to discard him? After watching Shedeur play last Friday, they can no longer humiliate him because everyone witnessed who he is. They are just punishing him now, Rob. They're not punishing him. They're not punishing Shedeur. They trying to humiliate Shedeur. And they still humiliate Shedeur. Why would you think they're trying to punish Shedeur? Punish him for what? You really believe that they think he's arrogant? You really believe that that's why they took him off the board? Why would they be trying to punish Shedeur? They have a vested interest in making sure Shedeur doesn't outplay Jackson Dart and be the number 1 rookie QB. They're not trying to punish him. They're trying to hold him back. That's it. This not about anything that they said. And Entourage, that backfired. Entitled, no, he's not. Shedeur being mic'd up was the best thing that Shedeur could do. I don't know whose idea it was. I don't know what they were expecting to get. Just like they had Jimmy Horn Jr. mic'd up, they had Shedeur mic'd up for about 12 minutes. And it was the best thing that it was a good look for him. It was an exceptional look for him because you had a chance to just see him outside of the Cleveland environment. He was talking to the first set of reps that was giving him instructions and listening and, building a rapport because he's going to see them again. He was talking to another ref. He was sitting on the table telling the guy, I want a deep ball. And I don't know if that was Kenny Pickett or who that was, but the guy told him, I thought he started to say something about, did you tell him or this, that, and the other, right? So Shedeur wanted to do things, but he was playing Kevin Stefanski's game. So Asante Samuel was right. Shedeur's challenge doesn't come on the field. It's because his coach is acting like enemy number 1. So the play calling is what you had to look out for, and it was problematic. Now you need to look out for suspect injuries. Everybody else is injured. So for Shedeur to be injured, it wouldn't be too far-fetched. And yes, that would take him out of contention. Then again, maybe they'll waive him like they did Gage. People were like, why the hell would you waive Gage? Maybe if I waive Gage, I can waive Shedeur. You can't put nothing past these people. They used a prank against Shedeur because pranks were happening. They just didn't know they were going to be exposed for directly giving out his phone number and setting the prank up. They didn't expect that part. So pay attention. Stay tuned for more of the unexpected. That's what you have to do. It said Cleveland has the nerve to tweet out CB12. I tweeted out Shedeur Sanders 12 fixed it. That's cute. I saw that too. I was like, they get me. The media, oh my gosh. They something else. Like they social media, they want to act like, they on a different team. And people keep calling them out, the NFL too. The NFL also. Shedeur had NFL coaches in college. Right. So you can't say he wasn't prepared for this, but all of his wide receivers. Speaking of wide receivers, yesterday, Jimmy Horn Jr. balled out. Today, it was reported again, Will Shepherd is catching everything in camp. And now the offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens talking about how they're going to use LeJontay Moore. See? All of them were devalued, guys. Except for Travis. Then they try to play in his face with his contract. He had to fight for it. And he needed Coach Prime for that. The owner broke code and trying to cover himself by blaming the GM. The owners are mad because the owner folded and took Shedeur. Then he didn't fold. Shedeur had to go somewhere. Does anybody remember what the president of the United States said in his tweet? He didn't say that for nothing. Read what he said. Read it. Read what he said. If I still had it, I'd post it. Read what he said. He starts out with, is the NFL stupid? Then he went on to tell you why he should have been drafted already. He said some other things. Go read it. Jerry Jones could do it, but down here in Texas, he claims he likes the backup QB, Milton. Sometimes he does this to hide what he's really doing. There you go, because that's what I think it is. Think about it. They have the same rookie contract, about the same amount of money. Let me see. I think I have a screenshot of it. Let's see. Let me see if I can share it. That's an easy swap. To me, they just setting it up. All I know is Jerry Jones is throwing Dak under the bus. I said, wait a minute. I think Jerry Jones going to get Shedeur. Then the Michael Parsons thing. And I was like, but Shedeur's contract is cheap. He could get both of them. And could. And then there's the $250 million in jerseys. And of course, he going to get a new jersey. So that's a new team. Now, of course, people can swap it out. I think you can swap it out when they go to another team within 90 days or something like that. And now that I hear them talking about Joe Milton, I'm like, he make the same money as Shedeur, I think. So I went and looked it up. Let me see if I'm right. Let's see. Here it is right here. Joe Milton. It says 960,000. Yep, that's right. 960,000. He's only been in the league 1 year. So his first year, 2025 cash hit 960,000. 2025 cash 960,000. Career earnings 795,000. Yep, they got the same contract. Because Schaefer, who was on Pac-Man Jones' show, go watch it if you haven't watched it, was talking about Schaefer was talking about Shedeur's contract, explaining they're not gonna trade him. Why would you trade somebody? You only got to pay him $7 because you make the least amount of money up front. That's why Milton 1 year in only makes $795,000. I think he was picked 193. I think he was picked 193. All them make about the same money at a certain time. They all make about the same money until they get undrafted, and it's close to that. Yeah, he was round 6. Shedeur was round 5. He was round 6, pick 193 overall. Yup, they make the same money. So he like, man, pinch me. They said Jerry Jones was like, pinch me. I can't believe we have him on our team. Now, y'all already know Shedeur good, but Shedeur comes with something else. You know what it is. If I'm going to pay him the same money I'm going to pay Shedeur, and I could get them jerseys, I could send Joe to Cleveland. I mean, yeah. I could send Joe to Cleveland, and that'll shut up all of this mess about Stefanski, the organization. It'll just shut it all down. So they believe. But it would. It would quiet everything. And nobody going to say anything because they don't know Joe Milton. And then Shedeur will go on to Dallas, and Jerry Jones will make his money. And then he'd have Micah and he'd have CD Lamb and George Pickens. And I already knew when he said, we're committed to that, we're committed to you as our franchise QB, but we were better off without you. I was like, he not interested in him. He even said it, no long-term deals. So they were saying today on ESPN or something, is Dak basically being parted ways with? I'm like, yep. Yeah, he is. Jerry Jones is setting it up not only to sign his future QB, but to move Dak the hell out the way so he can win, if that's what he want to do. In other words, yeah, I know I'm paying you all this money, and you just gonna sit right here, and I'm gonna let him play. Him could be Milton, him could be Shedeur, but considering they make the same amount of money, and Jerry Jones is already looking at Shedeur, if I get the people comfortable with moving forward with Joe Milton, and they already know Shedeur is good, then all I got to do is make the call. He don't even have to ask. He ain't talking to Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry gonna find out when he get to work. Oh, Shedeur gone to Dallas. You gonna go ahead on. Y'all got, Joe Milton. Put him in rotation. That's how it's gonna go. If it go like that, I can't figure out why he would do it. He's already setting it up. He's already setting it up, guys. They make the same money. You think that's a coincidence? I told you I felt like they actually, because I said this when all the quarterbacks are moving around. I said, I think they got Joe Milton to block Shedeur, just like Geno Smith went to Vegas to block Shedeur, like David Carr stayed and got Shaw, then retired. Then, you have to look at how they were positioning Shedeur. Out loud, Mike Tomlin is advised to draft Shedeur and make him QB2. They don't want him to be QB1. I wasn't kidding about that. And the fact that they were trying to force Shedeur to QB2 tells you they're not going to let him get the QB1 in Cleveland. But he can come on to Dallas and be QB2 behind Dak for a little bit. Unless I change my mind. And I'm going to make that money from the jerseys. Then I'm going to get the money from his daddy jersey. Hell, I might get his brother over here. Don't put nothing past these people. And Dallas has the highest valuation for a reason. Money means everything. They didn't even want to sign Emmitt Smith after they won the Super Bowl, knowing he deserved it. They were waiting to see, maybe we don't need him. So they went a few games into the season before they signed him. That's what it looked like they're going to do with Micah. Before I give you this $40 million, maybe we don't need you. They don't value the players. But we know he likes Shedeur. So, that's what it is. That's what it is. And I feel like, I'm agree with, who is this over here? Destiny? I'm agree. Is that Destiny? I agree. I mean, when I heard them say he was like, pinch me, I didn't, I'm glad we got this guy on his team. I immediately ran to look at his contract because I knew it had everything to do with money. And it's the same money that Shedeur makes. Schaefer said it. Shedeur gonna make $700 million this year, $960. He said the same thing on Pac-Man Jones' show. It's the same money. They're not gonna tip their hand, but it shows you how they act like there's nothing going on. And then one day you just wake up and it's just done. And then everybody gonna celebrate it. And then unfortunately, the problem is gonna be for Joe Milton. That's what I mean by they just gonna move on to somebody else and do it to somebody else. And honestly, a lawyer would tell them it'll make all of this go away. Because the longer it continues as is, you keep going back to the draft. You're talking about the owners colluded. That Coach Prime really wasn't the problem. Then why were the CU players held back? Because everybody see they good. See, that's another problem. You tried to hurt a program? You tried to hurt a program full of players? Nobody's going to overlook that Travis was the only one they didn't devalue. What they're going to see is they pit Travis against Shedeur, and that's why Shedeur was wearing a 12, which is why I refuse to buy it. They just trying to keep up the same collusion from the draft. They told one lie. Now they got to tell another one. They not letting Shedeur get to QB1. Not right now. Because the draft is too fresh. You can't justify how he got pushed down there because we all know the owners took him off the board. If somebody else took him off the board, then they'd be past it. They took him off the board, and who told us? See, we weren't supposed to know about that. Everything we weren't supposed to know, we're finding out. I don't think people are supposed to know that Shedeur wasn't Haslam's picks because people believe that. They really felt like Haslam rescued Shedeur and Stefanski was just being a butt. Now they see the connection, and it connects back to the draft. And Coach Prime ain't got nothing to do with it. And they attacked the program. There's a lot wrong there that I could see them going, just send Shedeur out of here and just get Joe Milton. And then that way Dylan stays where he is and they don't have a problem with him. Because if they trade Dylan to another team and then he end up a backup with no opportunities and he have to start over and Shedeur stays in Cleveland and he elevates, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. So they trying to figure out how to move around this. And I do think it has everything to do with Dallas. Prayers up for Shedeur's safety. I totally agree. I totally agree. Prayers up for his safety. And we just want to make sure, we celebrate his successes. You want to be realistic about the situation. He was set up to fail last week. Asante Samuels was right. Shedeur's challenge was the play calling. It could be the same this week. The stakes are higher. This game is pivotal. This game is everything because not the win or the lose, but who moves forward. If they both look good, then they continue on with the same pattern. But if Shedeur steps out front and Dylan looks bad, then they're going to get desperate. Hopefully they get desperate and trade. Now that they know, Joe Milton and Shedeur make the same money. But with Kevin Stefanski setting Shedeur up to be sacked, and you can't overlook that. It's the owner trying to get back in good grace with the other owners because Haslam messed up when he drafted Shedeur in the 5th round. Shedeur was never supposed to be drafted. I agree, but they didn't want to draft Shedeur. Verbal gymnastics, that's what it's called. They didn't want to draft Shedeur. I think he messed up when he said Shedeur wasn't his pick. That's what I think. I think you partially right, Hero. The owner messed up when he came out loud and confessed and said Shedeur wasn't my pick. If he wasn't on the board, he wasn't your pick. The owners took him off the board. You just admitted you were with us colluding against him. So, that's that. It says Shedeur planned for himself to do what he loves to do. Cleveland is where he'll showcase his talents. Yep, that's facts. It said no agent, no middleman. They want him to have a handler. Right. And I don't know how you could think that an agent could help him. Is it helping Cam right now? Is it helping Cam with his coach trying to make him look difficult? Is it helping Cam? Is it, stopping the competition so he don't have to compete and be the inherent QB1 like every other QB1 before him? No, it didn't help Milroe. The same agent as Jalen Hurts. Hey, they trashed Jalen Hurts. So if you're a white QB, maybe, but no. It wasn't going to help Shedeur, and there should have been no landmines in the first place. That's really just an admission that they put obstacles in his way. They should have never had obstacles. The draft is supposed to be celebratory. Everybody know where they're going already. At least you got an idea. You have an idea. It said, I am praying for him diligently. I don't trust him either. Not to have hurt him the whole game last week. I was on pins and needles. It's a dirty game, and I don't put nothing past it. That's how you have to think. When you see that a coach going to put you out there in 4-1 and number 74 blow his coverage and you get sacked by the first team against your, second, third team, fourth team? Come on now. That's why people calling it out. No cut, no trade, no sir. Yep, I think he might stay there. Dallas is the only place I see. I think Schaefer asked Pac-Man about what teams did he see him going to. You'd have to go watch it because I don't remember what he said, but he did ask him. He said, what teams you think he would go to? I was like, he ain't going nowhere because he right. They not going to trade him because they know he's an asset. They know he was going to outproduce his draft stock. Nicole Lynn, yep, that's his agent. That is his agent. That's his agent. And they trying to bury him on the depth chart. But he went out here and balled out. It worked in his favor to ball out, right? It worked in his favor to ball out because now it looked like he might get in some games. Before they thought they had him licked for 2 years. Their plan is not working out. But see, that don't work for Shedeur, right? Okay. It said, can hardly wait to see Dylan on the field. 3rd round pick. Ooh, we must be a wonder. Yeah. This morning's rumor is that there are teams looking for a Dylan Gabriel trade, and he can't be more than a 2nd string QB if it's true. Why? Why he can't be more than a QB? I don't doubt it because that's what the agent that was on Pac-Man Jones' show said. He said, I could see them putting together a trade for the Oregon kid to use his terms or Pickett. They're not going to move Pickett. They just got Pickett. How you going to go get him from a Super Bowl winning team, bring him over here, and now I got to ship you somewhere else? Dylan is the one I think is invested that they need to move. Why? It wouldn't surprise me. You saw Dylan face, right? You saw Dylan face. Realization has set in that he had been gaslighted. If they keep him there and Shedeur keep looking better and better than him, it's not going to be good for Dylan. And if he get out here tomorrow and he look bad, again, they probably on the phone with Philadelphia. Hey, just don't send me your best. Let's see if they talk about who's starting, who's playing. Or am I going to have to look it up with the jersey numbers on their back when they play? I mean, I know who Jalen Hurts look like, right? I know who he is. I know who Saquon Barkley is, but I don't know any of their linemen. Hey, Sonny, how you doing? How you doing? It said, fire that bozo coach. Now, yep, I totally agree. He needs to be fired. I hope Dylan starts. I think he is going to start. But then I could be wrong. I don't know. It just depends. Because I think what it's going to be, the game is not till Saturday. So maybe Thursday or Friday, we find out what Philadelphia's playing with. Unless Philadelphia already posted it. Because you could go look for it, I'm sure. If it was up to Stefanski, Shedeur would probably already be QB1. The owner is controlling what happens with Shedeur. I lost respect for Stefanski. Now, I'm going to agree with you on that. I will agree with you on that one. It said Dylan against the defensive ones for the Eagles. Oh, Lord, no. Because you saw when Myles Garrett was rushing at him. I was like, oh, Lord. I want Dylan to get 40 to 45 snaps. Let me see something. Yeah, we need to see him play. Wait, how long did Dylan play? Shedeur play? 3.5 quarters? Then that's how long Dylan need to play. You got to keep it a buck at this point. You can't put Dylan out here for a half and Shedeur play for 3.5 quarters. No, that's not fair. He need to play 3.5 quarters. The story about Dylan Gabriel came from 92.3. Okay. I watched him today, but I don't know if I remembered that part. But then again, they might have multiple shows a day. They were good today. I don't know much about them, but I thought what they said, I feel like they were holding the organization accountable. People calling in were like, yeah, I need to see what Dylan is about. And that's what everybody's saying. You can't keep protecting this kid and don't nobody know what he could do. Play calling is very suspect. Yep, that 4th and 1, I'm not letting Stefanski live that down because he was setting Shedeur up. And when somebody came out today and said, people tried to say that Shedeur was set up to fail, and look, he went and balled out. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, just because he overcame it or sidestepped it, don't mean he wasn't set up to fail. I said that 4th and 1 play with 8 minutes and 12 seconds left in the first quarter, where number 74 blew his coverage, he was set up to fail. If you look at the screenshot, again, I think I might have it. I don't know if I can show it. I have to look and see the rules. Because there are rules, right? There are rules. There are rules to this. So let's see. I think I saved it already. I wonder if I could share this. It's just a picture. Well, you know what? It's important to see, so I'm gonna share it anyway. Let me make sure I know what I'm sharing. Give me a minute. I'm gonna share it anyway. Let's see. I think I know what I did. I had several because YouTube had these rules. You can't like video, but it's a still shot. And it should be okay because it's just a still shot. And it's used for teaching and talking or whatever. So I'm just gonna see if I can show it. Because the shot that I took, the screenshot that I got, I say, you know what? It shows you that number 74 was not doing his job. He blew his coverage. His man was already moving on to maybe I didn't show. Yeah, his man was already moving on to Shedeur, and he was just back there. I'm like, so you just let him go. Again, same thing that happened at CU. And remember, on the right side, it was just really one or two people. It was really just, well, kind of one or two people. And it's kind of like the same thing, right? And so now his top receiver is out. People say we'll probably see more of Harold Fannin Jr. I don't know what was wrong with Harold Fannin Jr. in practice. When Shedeur was throwing to him, he couldn't catch the ball. But, maybe it was just happenstance, it clearly could be. He's supposed to be really good, so I was surprised by that. And they always try to go get somebody that looked like the person, and unfortunately it happens. But in this case, number 74, I'm like, he should be cut from the team. Don't be surprised if he make it, because he should be cut from the team. He looks so uninterested in his assignment that I'm like, how is it that they let you work here? Yeah, I don't know if I can see it. I'm going to have to see if I can share it in some other kind of way. I thought I saved it. But just go watch the game. Find some highlights. Fast forward to 8 minutes and 12 seconds. Shedeur got sacked. They're likely going to show it. It says on the field, 4th and 1. Slow it down if you need to. And watch what happens when Shedeur steps out of the pocket. First of all, that should be a running back play. You don't pass the ball at 4 and 1. All the running back got to do is scoop forward. That's it. That's it. I think they even talked about it on 92.3 for y'all. For those of you that listen to 92.3, I think they talked about that play today. What you mean, Shy Sky? Nobody is coming for 12? I don't know. I mean, somebody could get him. I think you got to learn the NFL just a little bit more. I think you got to learn the NFL just a little bit more. You got to learn the NFL a little bit more. Hey, Udo, Dylan Gable has to perform well against the Eagles' first team just to save his job. Okay. Okay, yeah, because if he doesn't, it's going to be hard to keep Shedeur behind him. So I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Can he quit and give them the messy $4 million? It's probably still going to be messy. He's not quitting. Shedeur is 10 toes down. Shedeur sees the finish line. He sees the pathway. He sees the doors opening for him. No, he's not doing that. He even said it. Cleveland is home. Shedeur is 10 toes down. I don't blame him. There's no point in him moving on when the people in front of him are dropping like flies. Honestly, it doesn't make any sense. If he go anywhere else, he's just going to be behind somebody that is likely healthy, or it's going to make it harder. He's in the right place. It's just the wrong people. Let's go from Lansing, Michigan. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Ray Williams. It said Barry and Stefanski a crash test dummies for the owners. Yep, that's facts. You got it. That's facts. They doing the owners bidding. Barry and Stefanski. It says Shedeur is above Barry and Stefanski's pay grade. Right. I said Stefanski ain't even fit to hold Shedeur's cleats because he's a losing coach. 40 and 44. Really? Really? I see the Colts as a possible. You know what? That was one of the teams. They said they all agreed on Pac-Man Jones show. The Colts came up. They all agreed. Actually, Dallas came up first, and Pac-Man Jones was like, that's not gonna happen. That's like dead. So I think it was a possibility, and he could be saying that because of Joe Milton. And I was like, nah, he know. I know he know. So then they went on to the Colts, and then they all was three of them. They were like, yeah, that could work. It should have happened by now, but I think Dylan could end up in Indianapolis. I think Dylan could end up in Indianapolis. Y'all said he can't be no more than a QB2, right? Well, he will be QB3. So behind Daniel Jones. So maybe he could become QB2. And it was rumored early on that Dylan or Shedeur could end up in Indianapolis. Shedeur is not going anywhere. But Dylan could end up in Indianapolis. It wouldn't surprise me if they working on trades for him right now, because I think it's in their best interest to trade him before the game. Because if you put him out there and he look bad, that's not gonna be. I'm gonna be watching like this, because if you know you're gonna trade him, right? If you say, well, we're gonna trade you after this game, we want to see how you do. If he does bad, you might just want to trade him before the game. Let Shedeur and Huntley play the game and just keep it pushing. There's a reason why Deshaun Watson is out there running around. I mean, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. It said Cleveland will not trade Shedeur. The Cleveland media and fans have already spoken. Not going to happen. They don't care about the media nor the fans. They not trading Shedeur because he's a franchise QB that they have obtained for $4 million. And if Jerry Jones can put him out there, then so can they. So it ain't got nothing to do with the fans. This is about the way they conduct business. It's not about the fans. They don't care about their fans. If they cared about their fans, they would be better than they are. They wouldn't be trying to move to the suburbs. They don't care. They don't care about that. They're not thinking about their fans. That's why I don't understand how the fans that be in their feelings are fighting for a team that's not fighting for them. His contract will make him the richest player in sports history. Okay. Okay. Shedeur gonna make more money from endorsements just like Travis than he gonna make from the NFL. Yeah. The jersey sales just even out the money that they stole from him by pushing him down from 46. Whatever Travis made is what Shedeur was supposed to make. So whatever Travis made, 43 million. So Shedeur could make that money back, I guess, in jersey sales, depending on how this goes. Maybe in a year or two. He said he wasn't ready to lead a game. He was prepared to play the whole thing. Yeah. Shedeur could have played the whole game. Yes, it's aura, and the aura will prevail. Yep. I like when Gage said that people gravitate towards Shedeur naturally. It lets people know, and it's true. It's really the truth. People like him. I think I used to say everybody loves Shedeur because it's true. Travis Hunter's personal life is hurting his popularity. Not really, because he on a State Farm commercial. Travis is not having any problems getting endorsements. Now, I noticed he didn't have his ring on in a State Farm commercial. I looked right at it because he had his finger. He was playing what they call that paper football where you used to play in class or whatever. Him and the State Farm guy. And I said, "Why Travis don't have his ring on?" So it's not slowing him down. It's just they moving around it. That's what I see. If he don't, I thought it was weird he didn't have his ring on. So, and the other day when he was walking in, it was in slow-mo. He had his ring on. So it's not hurting him. It's just they're just moving around it. It's a workaround. That's what it is. That's what it is. He's destroying Dylan's confidence. Right. And that's why I'm like, you got to be careful. If you know you're going to trade him, you better know for sure he going to ball out in this game. Because if you put him out there and he look bad, then they might put Huntley in and not let Shedeur play, but you're not going to erase our memory from last week. So they need to move carefully with, they say they being careful with him, right? So that means maybe because they saw he went 7-10, which is 70%, with the 2s and 3s, and he was a little less than Shedeur. Maybe they feel like he can hold his own. I don't know. I don't know, because Shedeur did what he did against the ones. So I don't know. I don't know. When does Stefanski develop Shedeur? Right. I'm like, you can't be serious. But, Stefanski's catching a lot of heat for being a bad coach. So I guess they got to say something, but it's not sticking. Because look at how you can't say you're developing somebody, that you're nurturing somebody, that you're doing your responsibilities of an NFL head coach. Google what it is. It's out there. He's not doing that. You're holding him back. You're doing stuff to him on the field where we can't see, but you're also doing things publicly. What we've seen publicly is enough. If this was a fair competition, see, it's never a competition when Shedeur succeeds. If you notice, it's a competition in words only. When Shedeur succeeds and is the best, he stays put because they're not going to let him get to QB1. Or they're going to try not to. They fighting with God at this moment because I think everybody going to do it. And Flacco was so happy Shedeur was doing well. I'm like, Shedeur going to get there. He going to get there despite their surprises. The unexpected is going to be what gets him there. The only way for Cleveland to hurt Shedeur is to bury him on the bench. Nope. The only way to hurt Shedeur is in the game. Believe that. That's how you hurt Shedeur, in the game. And you can't sit up here and say that it's not gonna happen. Go watch 4th and 1, first quarter, 8 minutes and 12 seconds against the ones. No. It said Ray Williams said he sold $250 million in jersey sales and made almost half his contract money back. No, he didn't make that much. The percentage that Shedeur would make from the jersey sales is not publicly disclosed intentionally. It's a standard revenue sharing. So the second person on the list gets about the same percentage, and that's Travis Hunter. So Travis makes money from his jersey. Every NFL player has that standard clause, and it's not specific to their contract. It's NFL revenue sharing, which is probably in the CBA. And it's for everybody. It's not specific to one person. And nobody knows what the percentage is unless you were the beneficiaries of it, which means you were in the NFL or you read the contract. So it's not specific to Shedeur. Travis gets paid for his jersey sales too. And so does Cam Ward and all of the guys. We just don't know the percent. So people guesstimated that it's between 12 and 15%. It should be, 12 and 15 million. It should be 10%. But it's probably 3, 4, or 5. It wouldn't surprise me. So, I know you didn't hear the news. Myles Garrett got a ticket. Yep, we talked about it yesterday. Because I think the Mary Cabin lady reported it, and she didn't say nothing about him swerving to avoid hitting an animal. She just talked about it and said he had flipped his Porsche, and I'm like, and somebody in the comments said he flipped his Porsche because he was swerving to hit an animal. It was supposed to be late or whatever. So, my thing is, if you're gonna tell the story, just put the context in there. It's like they intentionally withhold context to make the situation salacious. Stefanski ain't the reason. Stefanski is the reason because he's choosing to carry out the owner's bidding. Stefanski could say, I'm not doing it, but then he ain't gonna have no job. So yes, he's the reason. Just like the head coach in Atlanta was the reason Kirk Cousins was on the field. The owner drafted him. The owner had let them pick Michael Penix Jr., went back and drafted Kirk Cousins and told the head coach, now I'm going to let you decide who to start. The head coach wanted to keep his job, so he benched Michael Penix Jr. in favor of Kirk Cousins, and it blew up in his face. Nobody was trying to fire the owner. They were trying to fire the damn coach. They put them in impossible situations. You ain't got to do it. You just making choices. So, yes, Stefanski he ain't the only reason, but he is the reason because he doesn't have to execute that. He's making choices to be the bad guy. He doesn't have to be. But that's his choice. We all got choices. How you doing, Wild Dog? How you doing? A speeding ticket Saturday night going 100 miles an hour, but you never heard it. Yeah. What happened to Huntley? Did he disappear yesterday? I asked the same question. They say he going to be in the game. Some people say he not, so I guess I expect him to be at the game because what did you go get him for? They don't talk about him. That was my whole point. That was my whole point. Shedeur to Dallas is our media hype. It might be right now. It might be right now. It's not impossible, though. Knowing that Joe Milton makes the same exact money as Shedeur Sanders, it's not impossible. If Jerry Jones is happy he got a 193rd pick on his roster that he don't know, that he happy about because he don't make a lot of money and he balling out in camp, okay, you gonna tell me that he don't see that he could have the same person named Shedeur Sanders for the same exact money that comes with a lot extra? If he don't, it's because he can't. If he don't, it's because he can't. And honestly, he could lie and say Cleveland wanted to get him. They could come up with some things. Like I said, it might be media hype right now. But it could definitely turn into reality. And I'm not saying I want it. I'm just saying I see it. It makes sense. And this was before Joe Milton entered the conversation. Of course, he's happy to have Joe Milton balling out for $4 million. They put Miles on blast, stating he has, yeah, I feel like it's because he likes Shedeur. That's what I think. Because they could talk about what they want to talk about. They don't talk about those domestic violence cases. Something is happening. Shedeur is auditioning in these preseason games. Yep, him, Dylan, Huntley, everybody that's playing. True, that is true. They're all auditioning, to be honest. I like what Gage said. It's in the back of our minds we might not be here. That is the best thing you could do for yourself. Set yourself free of the anticipation and the wondering. Just go with the mindset. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm out here having fun, balling out, and I could end up somewhere else. That's how you have to look at it. Shedeur already said that when he was in his interviews. You could be somewhere else next week. Yeah. That means you can't use this against me. See, they know people want to play in the NFL. And sometimes they use that as leverage. You can't use it as leverage against Gage, who's already willing to move on mentally. You can't use it against Shedeur. Those two have each other. And Cleveland picked up on it. And now they're talking about it every day. Yesterday, they both can read each other's minds. Today, they interviewing Gage. Come on now. Now, mind you, they got veterans that want to win. And they talking about Cleveland being in a rebuild. Jerry sent me an email, and I sent it back to him and said, they always in a rebuild. But they talking about their starters, like they going to lose their starters, like Jerry Jeudy, this, that, and the other. I'm like, who they going to rebuild around? If you choosing to rebuild with everything that you have right now, and you can win right now with Shedeur, you need to be forced to sell your team because you just want to be in a perpetual state of rebuilding. 40 quarterbacks in 25 years, they're consistently, perpetually rebuilding. So, truth ain't true. It say you said it best. The longer Shedeur is in Cleveland, the more the truth will come out. That's it. That's what the Cleveland exercise is about. When you look at it from a bigger perspective, a bigger picture, it's called karma. Because if he wasn't there, the truth would never come out. So he gonna be there until we get all of it. And I feel like we close. I mean, it's obvious that what's happening to him in Cleveland happened to him in the draft, and it don't have nothing to do with Coach Prime. You can't even say that no more. You can't even call him a 5th round pick no more. You have to say it. The owners took him off the board. That's why he fell. And it's unethical, and collusion is illegal. I said that to somebody earlier, and they never responded because it's true. The media is never going to talk about the owners taking him off the board ever again if they want access to the players. So, yeah, they lied to us about Shedeur. It said, yeah, Nike called Cleveland with that marketing ad after the game, holding up the wrists. Yeah, that was good. There were some people clapping back at Nike, talking about, why don't you talk about this player? Why don't you talk about that player? I'm like, because he's their player. Nobody else is their player. Isn't that crazy? They didn't want Shedeur to be celebrated by Nike. It eats at people. See, the more these sponsors come out and keep celebrating Shedeur instead of pivoting away from Shedeur, yeah, it's going to be hard for the NFL because they want to be the authority and the experts. But everybody knows multiple sponsors are not paying somebody that's not good. Nobody's doing that. Shedeur is not going anywhere until God's plan is completed. Now, that's facts. And that's the whole point of it. If you look at it from a bigger perspective, the Cleveland exercise is so the truth can come out. They pre-drafted him extensively, seemingly under false pretenses. He fell into their laps. They were forced to take him. They're not happy about it. He's their franchise QB. He balls out in the preseason. He better than the number 3 pick. It raises so many questions that they're going to have to trade him to shut it all up. The voices will continue to get louder. If Shedeur go out here and ball out against Philly, and Dylan does not, or hamstring pull and he can't play, what you think the narrative is going to be? Let's be real. What you think the narrative is going to be when it's time for the depth chart to come out against the last preseason game. You really think people going to be okay with Shedeur being number 4? They're not okay with it this week. But people are more focused on, you know what? Shedeur played last week. We ain't worried about it. We want to see what Dylan going to do. That's what everybody wants to see, which is putting pressure on him. You know, they want to talk about how, you know, he's good at calling plays, catching on. I'm like, y'all overlooking the most important thing. His height. He was in school for 6 years for a reason. I'm like, his height does matter. Drew Brees, I know, you know, wasn't the tallest, but I think Drew Brees was a better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel. So all of these intangibles that you want to use for Dylan, you used against Shedeur. You didn't want to use them for Shedeur. You use stereotypes. They might not trade him. The better he plays, the more he's actually building that new stadium for them. Okay. Okay. Jerry want that shine. There you go. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. He's not going to let that just sit there in Cleveland. He's the only person that can make the call because it ain't going to be no conversation other than this who how it's going down. Don't underestimate. This man is the most powerful sports franchise owner in the world. You don't get lost on that. He already was interested in Shedeur. Unlike Cleveland, he might be happy to have him for $4 million. He's showing y'all how happy he is to have somebody other than Dak, which means I'm willing to move on from you. If I could get somebody for $4 million to ball out, I might trade you. And then if I could get somebody for $4 million and they can make 250 or 350 million in jersey sales, and then I could sell their daddy jersey and maybe get their brother, and it all be the home thing, you're damn right I'm going to do it. Unless I don't like these people personally. Now, when did that happen? When did that happen? So it's definitely doable. You definitely can see it. If he can wrap his mind around Joe Milton, I know Jerry Jones know how much Joe Milton made. I know Jerry Jones know how much Shedeur made. It's the same. It's just a swap. He just benefits, and Cleveland benefits because people get to stop talking about their situation. It's a win-win. Not for Joe Milton. It's not. It's not. The Nike ad was clutch. Oh, I totally agree. I like the Nike ad. Totally agree. Hey, Freeman Harris, how you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. But yeah, the Nike ad was clutch. Again, people were in their feelings, but hey, you know, it said Jerry and Shedeur Sanders coming through the star with the boombox rapping. Yep, and he will definitely allow it. Yep, and anything to turn it into a show. Anything. I agree that Shedeur let them know who he was in the game, and Nike let them know they are backing him. Right. So imagine if Beats does that. Imagine if Gatorade. You just take Nike and Gatorade and throw Beats in there. Imagine if they all did that. If they all ran ads after. The only reason they would not is if they are afraid of their partnership with the NFL. See, Shedeur and the NFL have the same partners. That's actually a good thing for them, but, you know, I've seen a few snippets from his page, but I'll catch it later. It said, I like the contract renegotiation. It said Milton don't mean nothing. Yep, not yet. They were like, oh my God, he threw a 70-foot ball. I was like, yep, he threw a deep pass. That's pretty good. Let me know when he sells 250 million in jerseys and sell out the stadium for the next 4-5 years, and then have Coach Prime Deion Sanders jersey back in rotation. Come on now. Even the Atlanta Falcons wish Coach Prime happy birthday. I was like, that's special. Because they could have got Shiloh. They were doing what they were told. Jerry is one of the only owners who probably has the ability He's the head of the table for all the collusion. Probably. It would not surprise me. I think it's New York. I think it's New York, but again, gentlemen's agreements. And normally when they have gentlemen's agreements, it negatively affects Black people. If you know the history, that's the truth. None of their gentlemen's agreements, none of their collusion has negatively affected white players. It's Shedeur in this case. Hell, look what happened to Lamar Jackson. Then go back to 1932. Then go back to 1968 with Marlon Briscoe. Hell, Joe Gilliam. That's why I said Shedeur can win, but he just gonna be Joe Gilliam, and they just gonna snatch it from him and give it to this 2025 version of Terry Bradshaw. Everything they're doing to him, they have already done. What's different is who's clapping back. They typically expect the media to be the offensive front to make the conversation stop and control the narrative and spin everything. Media has changed. Anybody with a microphone that can stream can tell the truth. And that's what's happening. They're not used to that. So that's why they're going on the defensive. Stefanski helped develop Shedeur. No, and you can't convince nobody that he did. Why would he hold back a prospect that he helped to become the best? That doesn't make sense. Is Nike enough to get the dogs off Shedeur? It could be, but I didn't see him do it after the draft. I felt like they should have. I felt like every sponsor he had should have been asking WTF. You messing with my money. Yep. Arthur Blank would have got him if he already spent all that money on Kirk, then draft Penix. They did have a meeting when they were in Dallas that time. I could see it. I could see it. I felt like the NFL lied on the Falcons and said all of this phone number came from the Falcons. It did not. That made people think, what? Oh, this is about Coach Prime. See, they know what they're doing when they lying. They think about their lies. They made people think the prank was, if it wasn't about the other little kids and the other pranks, oh, this personal against Coach Prime. It's not personal. It's not personal because it negatively affects Milroe and he don't have nothing to do with it. He's not Shedeur's brother. Hell, they don't even talk about Shedeur's brother. He over there minding his business, balling out, and Tampa loves him. And he went out there and did the damn thing on the field. And they say at the game, they had him on that Jumbotron every time they could make it happen. You don't see this happening to Shiloh. He's not a quarterback. That's why it ain't happening to Travis. He's not a quarterback. These people carefully selected who they was going to push down in this process, who they were going to pit against each other. If they were willing to pit Travis against Shedeur, they will pit Joe Milton against Shedeur. If they block Shedeur with Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr, then they're going to use and Jackson Dart. They didn't pit them against each other. They just used them to block him and get out the way. We don't know. He might. We not saying he going. We saying it looked like Jerry Jones getting close to parting ways with Dak. I already said that. He said you're our franchise QB, but the future, I don't know. I said if Dak is not his future, that means he gonna get him another quarterback. So that's when the Shedeur came into the conversation. And now the conversation is, hey, we got a guy right here, Joe Milton. Something about pitch me. I can't believe this guy's on our team. He's good, and he's only $4 million. He make the same money as Shedeur. If I'm gonna pay Dak $200 million and embarrass him on national TV, you think everything he's saying about Joe Milton is genuine? You ain't been paying attention. Look at what's happening with Michael Parsons. The same thing that happened to Emmitt Smith, who won the Super Bowl. And you think Joe Milton he genuine about him, but he was hanging out with Michael Parsons for the sole purposes of when he got to the point where he wanted to renegotiate with him, that he would get what he wanted. He wants to hold Michael Parsons to a conversation they had when they were out somewhere and must have shook hands, and he wants to stick by that. And you think he genuine about Joe Milton. He just accepting the fact that he can get somebody for $4 million to be better than Dak. And I could move on from Dak. And I could get my lightning in a bottle for $4 million. This is a game to them. This is a game. This is a game. It's just a game. It's just a game. It said Pete Carroll wasn't going to take the Raiders job without his boy Geno. Facts. And that's how Tom Brady got overruled. He need him to win now. He doesn't have time to develop a young QB. Right. And that's how Tom Brady got overruled. Because when they hired Pete Carroll, everything changed. Whatever Pete Carroll wanted became the priority. They bought in Tom Brady to help them decide on a quarterback. But when Pete Carroll came, things shifted. And then he went and got Geno Smith, and that's what blocked Shedeur. Nike is showing them he is him. Yep. This will bring attention to what's going on. Yep. And that's what it did. It said it was only a matter of time. Like, you wasn't going to hold him back forever. That was a very powerful message. You know, you got to look at what was said and what was not said. You have to look at the verbiage, look at the context, look at who we talking about, look at the timing of it. They had that on deck because they knew they might have another one. Gatorade might have one too. You know, Gatorade might have it too. It said, oh, thank you, Morning Coffee. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. It says, y'all see John Gruden in Jacksonville at the facility talking to Travis after everything we heard and those emails. Oh, that's who that was from Vegas? I noticed they kept talking about him, but I didn't know who it was. It said, but Shedeur can't even be confident or he drops to 5th round and now stuck in Cleveland. Same thing with Ben Roethlisberger. Same thing with Ben Roethlisberger. Brett Favre. So, yeah, facts. So tell me something. Is John Gruden the one that had the emails in Vegas? And then they kind of kicked him out or something? And then I guess he's back or something like that. Somebody let me know. Morning Coffee, expand on it for me. But yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. And no, I'm not surprised. But I didn't recognize the name. I noticed people kept talking about him all day. Something about him wanting to be a SEC coach. And he was pictured somewhere. People told me he had been working out. I didn't know who it was. So thank you for the context on that. And let me know if that's the guy with the emails out of Vegas. It says CU is going to shock the college world this year. They are better up front and will have a good running game. Yep, I think CU is better all around. When Coach Prime said they're a better team all around, he was correct. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you for joining us too. It said the Browns are going to hurt for holding Shedeur back with the underhanded, ugly malfeasance. I agree. You're not going to tell Karma what to do. You're not going to tell Karma when to show up, and you're not going to tell Karma what to do. The Browns are feeling the pressure. If Dylan get traded, don't be surprised. Yes, Indianapolis is a place he could go. But so can Shedeur. But we don't think that's going to happen. I think Shedeur going to be right there. I think God finna part the Red Sea. That's exactly what I think is getting ready to happen. It said it wasn't Joe Schoen. It wasn't Joe Schoen was already at Jackson Dart's house. That's why I gave up 50 years of rooting for the Giants. It said they let Saquon walk in favor of a bum. Yep. And that QB Daniel Jones is over there, supposedly applying pressure to try to take Anthony Richardson's job. But I don't know how he looked this week or even if he played. So yeah, Dylan could end up there. I'm not even mad at Dylan Gabriel. He got a whole case. He does. That's what I'm like. I'm like, y'all are making this worse. Y'all are making this situation spread like wildfire. I'm like, Kevin Stefanski is doing everything in front of so many people to hold back Shedeur. He ain't going to have a job. The owner gonna have to fire him. See, what the owner don't want is those people out there putting that stadium together to buck against him. He don't want the people that's paying for it to say, you know what, we out. We can't be a part of this. So if that happened, he ain't gonna have no job. He might give him a nice severance package. He might give him $14 million bonus, but you can't be the head coach here because I got to get this stadium built. See, when heads start rolling, it's like a domino effect, and they're starting to feel the pressure. Remember, Cleveland has an open case in court about the name of the Browns trying to move to an area that's not Cleveland and take the name with them. They wanted to throw out some clause that had something to do with Cleveland and how it was founded and Art Model law, something like that. They trying to get that tossed out. The judge already said no. They try to move the case from local municipalities to federal. They dealing with that too. They just got a new president after the owner came out and said Shedeur was my pick. Now people standing on Stefanski's head. Heads will eventually begin to roll. If the longer Shedeur is in Cleveland, it's going to force them to do something they don't want to do, that they're trying not to do. Let him go, because this situation is going to continue to spread like wildfire. Instead of having a problem about Shedeur, Dillon legal team could get right on you, because I already heard they pretty aggressive. And when Stefanski said we have to protect him, or we're protecting him, I bet you are. I bet you are. See, people think Shedeur having an agent would call the dogs off. No, it would not. So what? It got to be a good old boy buddy? Who is it going to have to be? See, then that's going to be a problem. Oh, you got an agent, but you don't have the right agent. So what? You want to get somebody to talk some sense into them? They got lawyers. They have a whole management council full of lawyers that's supposed to rival one of the best law firms in the country, and they ain't listen to them? Did they listen to them? All right, then. No, they know who he is. They choose to lie. And they messed up when they took him off the board. So they're going to be forced to move him somewhere else, because you can't cut him out this league because the fans are going to revolt. Shedeur is protected, and they don't even see it. They can't move him like they want to. That's why people keep saying Dallas. Not because we hear people talking about it, because they know Jerry Jones is the most powerful owner in the NFL. They know that. They know he's the one that could do it. They know the relationship between him, Coach Prime, and Shedeur. They know that. I told y'all, he the kind of person, Coach Prime will be on the field, and the next thing you know, when he go back to the office, he check his phone, and he got a cowboy hat emoji from Jerry Jones. Hey, Prime. Like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. This man held out against Emmitt Smith, one of the best to ever do it. After that man won the Super Bowl, which meant he deserved it, and still stood against him. When it comes to money, that's when the decisions get made. And one thing about what Shedeur has that Joe Milton doesn't is what? 3 or possibly 4 million fans and everybody, the world behind him that spends money. There are people still buying that 12 jersey. There are people still buying Colorado's too. There were a lot of Colorado 2s at that game. The people who don't want the 12, they go and buy the 2. So they support one way or another. And it's working. It's working. But the moment it becomes a problem with that stadium out there, and they start hitting him in the pockets, or people start pulling out, if the R word ever surfaces virally, because Stephen A. said it. A lot of people use the word bias. When they get to the point where they saying definitively that's what it is, because right now they like, that's what it is. We need to see what Dillon do. So people like, okay, we're going to see what he do. That's putting a lot of pressure on Dillon. I don't know him like that. I don't know him to know what his mental's like. I know Shedeur's. But I don't know Dillon like that. But the people that do know, but he looked dejected. He looked sad. So Hopefully he can muster up the energy for his own career and it don't even matter, to be honest, because they can find him somewhere to go, because they got to find him somewhere to go. You're not going to be able to hold Shedeur back. So you're going to have to part ways with somebody. You're going to have to part ways with Shedeur. And if you don't want to do that, you're going to have to part ways with Dylan, or accept the fact that Shedeur is better than Dylan, but they don't want to do that. That's what they're fighting against. They ain't even looking at him getting a QB1. They don't want him to get in front of Dylan. To me, that's why they got Dylan. And when his lawyers figure that out, if his lawyers sit down and realize they did the same thing to Shedeur using Dylan in college, they put them 2 and 2 together and come up with 4. And when his lawyers realize the connection, when Dylan's lawyers realize the connection between Stefanski and Colorado by way of the offensive coordinator, what happened with the Heisman committee and what's happening, yeah, they gonna see it too. Because I know they saw his face and I know it hurt their heart. And it's wrong for them to do that. Dylan ain't white. They wouldn't even put a white player in that position. So yeah, they're using him too. If they let him go from the league, he got him a case. It's called the feint, F-E-I-N-T. While you over here trying to hold back Shedeur, you're going to get a right hook from Dylan and his legal team. And you thought kissing up to him, gaslighting him, inviting him on the golf course was going to spare you from it. Michael Parsons learned the hard way. That's why he was being cozied up too. I think it's setting in that Dylan is realizing that's why y'all came and got me. He know he ain't white. That's why you can't do dirt for your boss. You cannot. We have watched so many movies about the firm and lawyers and people doing dirty stuff, and it never works out. It never works out, and it might work out for a little while. But when you allow people to use money to seduce you into criminal, unethical, or illegal activity, you're going to pay the price. Nobody's going to fire Haslam. It took a congressional hearing to push out the owner in Washington. That's what it's going to take for Haslam, unless the fans grow really loud. And I don't know if Cleveland is willing to hold their team. If the Cleveland fan base is willing to hold the Browns accountable and not show up, then maybe. But if they're going to keep showing up, then it's going to take the level of a congressional hearing. People don't even want to admit that what Trump said was impactful. You goddamn right it was. He the only one that can keep the dogs off of them. The Lord healed everybody miraculously Saturday. Facts. I'm like, wait, what? Like, right. Like, so everybody good now. So what did we go get Tyler Huntley for? I'm like, Shedeur could have played that whole game. That's it. It said the reason you buy shades is to block out the sun. Dylan was used as a fall guy to sabotage Shedeur, and the bro that they fired was collateral damage. Yep. It said Morning Coffee. Brown's head coach is golfing buddies with Oregon head coach. Might be a reason Dylan and the Browns in the third. Yep, it could be. It could be because Dylan was an undrafted free agent the year before. People said he went too high in the draft. So that tells you that personal relationship, they did a favor. And I'm sure it made Dan Lanning feel good that his guy was taken over Coach Prime's guy, his son, Shedeur. I told y'all there was some kind of college connection there. And there it is. People said that they knew each other, but this is different. Golfing buddies, I play golf. It takes about 4 hours to play, 18 holes, and a lot of talking and business deals. And you know people well when you golf with them regularly. A lot of business deals are done on a golf course. It's more talking than it is golf. In fact, it depends on what they're talking about. They ain't even worried about the golf. They just talking about the business that's taking place. So there you go, people. Brown's head coach is golfing buddies with Oregon's head coach. There you go. That's how he got his guy in there over Shedeur. So they was just sticking it to Shedeur one more time. I knew Dylan being the block, just like he was the block in college. I don't know. Maybe we need to look at the athletic club and see who Dan Lanning plays golf with down there, because his guy also blocked Shedeur in college. You see the connection? Thank you for that tidbit. That was very, very, very insightful. Thank you. Daddy Mac and Pee Wee. Who are you talking about? It said they look like a whole clown show. Yup. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's what it has turned into. It has turned into a circus. A whole circus happening in one ring. It's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. And while they trying to hold back Shedeur, they gonna get sucker punch. They're gonna have to help Dylan get out of there, especially if Shedeur ball out and Dylan don't. And they probably already working on it and just ready to see how it, just in case, to see how it goes. And you know, at some point, it's bigger than the relationship with Stefanski. It's about the organization catching heat. Because again, ain't nobody gonna fire Haslam. Because if the heat keep coming their way, Stefanski not gonna have a job. He's not doing his job. And it's publicly documented that via video. And if Donald Sterling had to be forced to sell his team with audio, it's enough video out there that Stefanski not doing his job. That's why they running around trying to convince people at the 11th hour that despite how he's holding back Shedeur, he's helping to develop him. That's a whole contradiction in itself. And that's how you know it's a lie and they trying to do damage control. The heat is on. It might be on slow cook, but when it get hot, it's hot. I first knew about the collusion in NFL from Jimmy Garoppolo trade to the Niners. Oh, okay. Yep. I don't think it's a new practice for them. Stefanski is going to have to make sure he gives Dylan the best plays to protect him, but he will set Shedeur up with plays to get him hurt. Agreed. That's why I said, let's see what Philly playing. If Philly say they coming out and they playing the 3s and the 4s and the 2s, then what were they both just practicing with? The 2s and the 3s. So if they match that energy and Dylan went 7 and 10 with their 2s and 3s, then he should be expected to do well. That was the first time that Shedeur and Dylan had the same opportunity with the different units, the same units, 2 and 3. So let's see who they playing against. Like I say, I feel like they done called up Philadelphia. And what it does is it might help set up Shedeur, but like who was it just said it? The play calling is where it's gonna come back up for Shedeur. They might call another 4th and 1 for Shedeur, but then for Dylan, he get the basic packages like Jackson Dart. So yeah, I can see it. You can't trust it. You can't trust it. You cannot trust it. Shedeur's escapability is his best asset. His durability is going to be his best asset to not get hurt like everybody else in Cleveland. If all the other quarterbacks could get hurt, I don't know why people think Shedeur can't get hurt. Especially when they set him up on 4th and 1. If you play football and you know football, you don't pass the ball on 4th and 1. And then the guy doesn't do his coverage assignment. Come on now. It don't take a genius to see what's happening here. Look how upset he was after they won. That told you they weren't supposed to win. That's probably why he didn't play 50 snaps. Remember, he was supposed to play 50 snaps. They took him out early. Yep, they took him out early. It said now the Haslam, Stefanski, and Barry, along with all the other step and fetches, regardless of skin color, are going down along with the top. Yep, that's true. That's true, Clara. That's true. Jerry Judy seems to be speaking out lately. They say he might not even be there after next year because they in some rebuilding phase. I guess that's where Lenora Seller's going to come in at. I'm like, y'all rebuild every year. You don't have no stability. When are you not rebuilding? When are you not rebuilding? That's the thing, right? I still think it's suspect that Shedeur got pulled as soon as he got into them red zones. Did the Browns not want Shedeur to get a 3rd touchdown? Probably. I was shocked they said he had 2. I'm like, I thought he had 3. But the 3rd one must have been the running back must have ran it in or something. I'm going to have to go back and watch the highlights again. They're not that long because he didn't play the whole game. So it said to humble him and send him a message to others coming behind him. Yep, that's what the draft was for. The draft was to definitely send a message. It was to humiliate him. They don't care about him being humble. It was to humiliate him and send a message to the rest of the black quarterbacks coming into the league, this is what it's going to be like for you. It's not a coincidence that overnight Lenore Sellers is about to go from 5-1 and Cleveland got the number 1 pick. I told y'all they didn't have to lose this year. They don't have to tank. They have the number 1 pick. So technically, they traded Shedeur, the number 2 pick, for the unknown number 1 pick next year. Now, what does that say to you? What do they teach you? A bird in the hand beats 2 in the bush. So you mean to tell me you had this guy right here at number 2, Shedeur Sanders, and you traded him to move up 1 space for somebody in unknown, a QB. That means you really didn't want Shedeur. If you moved off of him that easy to move up 1 space, you never had intentions for him to be your long term. He not a part of the stadium deal because he ain't going to be there. That's why he don't have the 2. He got Travis jersey number because they don't respect him. If you move up 1 space off of a guy that you know can take you there, and you've been in a drought for a long time, if you move off that easy, you was never serious about him. And that's the last dot that I'm going to connect, because that's the one that ties it all together. That's why they're not talking about Shedeur pre-drafting with Cleveland, because they know they were never really going to get him. They pre-draft under false pretenses, which means that the whole draft was a setup for Shedeur. Locking him out, pushing him down, Barry getting him when he's not on the board. He was pigeonholed there, just like Deshaun Watson. Dylan was drafted 49 picks ahead of Shedeur. Send him into the fire. Right. They have to let Dylan, if they're not trading him tonight or tomorrow, they have to let Dylan show and prove. And I think they're going to try to keep it even. I will not consider it a coincidence if the 2s and the 3s match up with Dylan and possibly Shedeur. I would not, because this was the first time they allowed both of them to work out with the same unit. And they gave Shedeur more reps. So people were asking, does this mean Shedeur is going to climb up the depth chart? And they just taking a slow approach so it doesn't hurt much. If you do it fast, then people are going to be, it's going to be noticeable that you put a 5th round pick in front of a 3rd round pick, something you said couldn't happen. That means the 5th round pick can get his own jersey number. And that guy, number 2, was very encouraging to Shedeur on the sideline. Andre Carter. So he might give it up. But Shedeur going to be there. I hate to tell you, but he going to be there. Now, Dylan, I don't know. I don't want to see him, get cremated. I don't want to see that because it's going to be ugly. The look on his face said it all. And maybe if he's not doing well, they'll just pull him out. Maybe they'll just take him out the game. I mean, hopefully that's what they do, right? Have some mercy and push Shedeur in, but they're probably going to put Huntley in. They can't stop Shedeur. They need to stop trying. They can't even stop him. They couldn't stop him in college. So how you going to stop him in the pros? It's not that much difference. Yes, the bodies are bigger. Yes. But no, hell, they talking about, Colorado's O-line is huge. Coach Prime would have given him some pro size players. So maybe it wouldn't be so much of a transition. I'm fine with Flacco at 1. It's just this QB2 room. Dylan Gabriel needs to start. That's what people say. He going to start Saturday. Y'all know the game is at 1 o'clock, right? The game is at 1 o'clock. So since the game is at 1, I'm definitely going to be live. Definitely going to be watching it. So turn on your notifications. Make sure that you get the notification Saturday. I'm going to schedule it ahead of the game. We have a members only live stream Friday at 6. So the game is Saturday. So I may schedule it Friday night. And we just do it that way. Hey, Clara, how you doing? Let's see. Thank you for the support. What you saying? It says, those mentioned in my last 2 posts are never going to see until hit, and they have no recourse. Right. I mean, I think what you're saying is, I'm going to go back and look at what you're saying because I have to scroll through. Clara said, now the Haslam, Stefanski, and Barry, along with all the other stepping fetches, regardless of skin color, are going down along with the top. Yep, they will eventually. Eventually. I totally agree with that. And it's going to be for organizational malpractice. Watch what I tell you. So that's what you meant when you said those mentioned in my last two posts are not even going to see until hit, and they will have no recourse. Right. And one of the things that they could get hit with, they got this lawsuit pending. So that's the Haslams, they got the lawsuit pending. They got the stadium. Again, either one of those could cause a problem and shake things up. Right. So yeah, they got those two things open, and then you got all of the pressure that's coming on them for Shedeur. Again, Shedeur balls out. He's the best. They gave him more reps. He balls out again. He's already got more reps. Are you going to move him up to the ones now? What you going to do with Dylan? I think they're going to trade him. I think they're going to spare him being on that roster because they don't want every day with Dylan on the roster behind Shedeur. People just going to talk and talk and talk about the draft. And why did you get Dylan? You was already interested in Shedeur. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? They're going to have to move him out. Old man Manny will never allow Archie to play for Cleveland. Thank you. Thank you, Simeon. I don't know why people thought that. I was like, y'all must not know the connections to the New York Giants through the Mannies. I'm like, that's how Jackson Dart got there. That's how Jackson Dart got there. Shedeur has the best skills in Cleveland. Yep, he's the best quarterback. He's the best quarterback. And it was very cowardly of them to drop off that depth chart the day, at the end of the day, and you off and unavailable the next day for comment. Cowardly. That means they know what they're doing is not right. That's what that means. Jerry Jones is not going to let Shedeur stay in Cleveland. I think the whole falling, pinch me, Anthony, what's his name? Milton. It sets it up for the swap. It does. It's the same money. Why you think I went and looked at the money? Because I know he hung out with Michael Parsons because I saw it. I saw the videos. I saw the thing. Dez Bryant, he hung out with him too, right? That's just what he does. And he know Coach Prime. He knows Shedeur. So he can be disingenuous, right? He paying Dak $263 through $36 million. At one point, he was making $60 million a year. He was the highest paid QB. And you gonna tell him to his face. To the media, you gonna tell all of us. We better off without you. Yeah, franchise QB, yeah, but long term, no. So I knew he was looking for his future. And I know that Dak signed his contract the next day. And I heard Stephen A. say it. Jerry Jones tried to act like Dak was the hold up to signing his contract, but it was Jerry after the Nebraska game. So you think he's still not interested in Shedeur? He couldn't get Shedeur in the draft. But as the heat increases and Shedeur got to move, don't be surprised if Joe Milton end up in Cleveland. I'm not saying I want that for him. But I'm telling you, see, sometimes I tell people lawsuits and bad press, things being exposed, having everybody to know the truth about the draft, the things that we talk about, for everybody to see it, right? They don't want that. They were bold with it, but stuff started coming out. Then they started covering up. Why you think they lied? If they wanted people to know, they wouldn't have lied and said it was the Falcons. So when I saw the Falcons wish Coach Prime a happy birthday, I was like, that's interesting. The NFL never came back and admitted it wasn't the Falcons. The NFL itself gave out Shedeur's number. But the media was calling them out, the print media. They were like, the NFL made this possible, made this prank possible. But they didn't bother to talk about who the guy was that made the call. They just let the lies roll out that it was the defensive coordinator, the son that made the call. I'm like, that ain't even his son in the picture with the phone. But they didn't want to straighten it out. They just let the lie roll forward. So they might be Billy Bad Butts, right? But at the same time, they don't want the whole truth coming out. And with Shedeur in Cleveland, that's exactly what's happening every single day. The harder they hold him back, the more people talk because it don't make no sense. Now they got Cleveland media. Y'all said 92.3 even said it, and I know I heard them say it. Yeah. When you start getting the media that you collude with to go against you and speak out against what you're doing, I'm just saying the voices are getting louder. And you see how the media is like trying to speak up and have a voice. Again, they have business deals in place that people might not want to be associated with this. It could stall the situation. It could cancel it. It's probably not going to cancel it because they got their own money. I told you they had to get a new president. That's not a coincidence. Look at what happened before they had to get one. Things have happened. And Shedeur, they're not going to be able to get rid of him. So they're going to have to find him somewhere to go to. So they're going to have to figure out who they want to keep. And they fans going to stand on their head if they keep dealing. If he don't play well and Shedeur move on, ooh, it's going to be a problem. Can you just imagine it? Yeah, he's not allowing them to play there. I don't know why anybody thought that. Shedeur has the best skills in Cleveland. Yep. Flacco and Pickett will play in the third and final preseason game. That's good because they need to practice too. It said this coming game will dictate everything for Dylan and Shedeur. Right. This game is pivotal. Correct. I totally agree. All right, y'all. We're going to get out of here. We've been in here for 2 hours and 49 minutes. But it was good because it moves the conversation forward, right? We know the game, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be live. We know it's pivotal. We understand what's at stake. Shedeur balls out. Dylan maybe caves to the pressure. Stefanski going to have to figure out what to do. I know he friends with Dan Lanning, but you learning you ain't in control here. And that's the message for Cleveland. Y'all ain't in control y'all like you think. Y'all didn't even want him to get drafted. He got drafted. You didn't want him here. He got here. And he going to be on your roster. Because I think God get ready to part the Red Sea. And if so, and he ball out, be on the lookout for Jerry Jones. All right, we're going to get out of here. This was awesome, y'all. This was really, really good. We'll be back tonight at 10:35. I'm going to go eat dinner. We'll be back at 10:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're probably going to react to some things and just, keep the conversation going. I'm excited for the game. But I'm side-eyeing Stefanski and his play calling after this last game. If you have not watched the 4th and 1 play with 8 minutes and 12 seconds left, and what happened for Shedeur to get sacked in the first quarter, I want you to go watch it against the Wands. All right. See y'all tonight. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. Thank y'all for the engagement. I thoroughly enjoy it. And I'll see y'all tonight if y'all can make it. 10:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out and subscribe if you're new hanging out with us. I'll see y'all later. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for watching What She Said Sports. Be sure to join our daily live stream and listen up to What She Said Sports on the go on Spotify. Thank you for watching What She Said Sports. Stay for another video.